All right, everybody, welcome to tonight's episode of The Gathering. We have our good friends from End of the Line Paranormal with us tonight. You also have Michelle and Al and Christina along with us. So, the guys from End of the Line, we have known them for a couple of years now. We've gotten to investigate with them at their home haunt of Brushy Mountain Penitentiary, and they've come up to our home haunt, the Nickerson Sneed, with us. So, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and we'll get into the show.
Hey. Well, we're End of the Line Paranormal. I'm Tiffany.
Jamie and Courtney.
Yeah. We've been a team for over 10 years, I guess now. We've been at Brushy for 10 since it closed down. We went in there the first time, 2009, Halloween night. So, but before then, we still got together and investigative places and stuff like that. But End of the Line formed about a year before Brushy closed down. So since about 2008, as long as we've been an organized team, I guess you'd put it that way.
That's awesome. So you guys do a lot of stuff up at Brushy, obviously. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of the prison, a little bit about kind of its haunted history and even just its regular history, so that the viewers kind of know a little bit about Brushy Mountain.
You do the history part. I'll talk about some haunts if you want to do the history.
Well, Brushy was built in 1896. For those who don't know, it was open for 113 years. It's estimated that over 10,000 men lost their lives there during its operation. It was originally built. It came out of the Coal Creek mining wars. There was a convict leased labor system through the state. The local miners rose up against losing their jobs to the convicts. So as a result, the state built Brushy and got free labor out of it pretty much in the early days. So yeah. But yeah, it's an amazing place. It really is. The town, the prison, the whole place is just steeped in tons of history, and we could talk for hours really about the history. But it's a cool place. But yeah, it was in operation for 113 years. It was a maximum security facility up until...
It was actually one of the first... At one time, Brushy, help me out here, Alcatraz and Leavenworth were your only supermax in the entire nation.
Yeah, everybody that got sent here got life sentences. It was known as the End of the Line because this was everybody's last stop. If another prison couldn't handle you, if you were an escape risk, you got sent here. It's the only prison in the world with 3 walls. The mountain serves as the 4th wall. It's just a really cool place. It really is.
And now the 113 years, only one person or one escape, should we say, happened from inside that wall. And that was the day James Earl Ray escaped. So, it was a true supermax prison. You're not getting out of here. And they put it in this bowl too, because they felt that if people did escape, that they would get lost in the mountains and they would backtrack and they wouldn't get very far, and they didn't.
And that's kind of what happened with James Earl Ray, right? When he escaped, it was like, 50 some hours, I think. Is that right? Or that before they actually captured him?
Yeah. And that's how the Barkley Marathon came, kind of everyone laughed at how far he went. And when they got in here and ran this mountain, they seen how steep it was, how it was covered in rock and how hard it was to go across it. And then, and there's only been 15 people that have finished that in how many years?
Since the 80s.
80s, mid-80s.
Wow. It's a very prestigious race. It's really cool. Unfortunately, they had to cancel one this year.
Yeah, first time.
Yeah.
So is it because of the terrain around the prison that makes that such a tough race to run?
Our mountains don't look very steep, but they are. They're very steep. The
rock.
Yeah.
Actually, Petros actually means we're always told hard rock. It was
really
maybe German. Was it
German? Yeah.
So, but yeah, and that's kind of how we came to be here. Also, our family settled this town. This was given to our family through North Carolina for services done. Our great grandfather settled here, and then he put it in lease to the state. in 1894. And then the lease also says it was a 99-year lease or until it shut down.
Wow.
And it was supposed to come back to the family, which it didn't. But, so we have a long history here. They actually gave Fletcher $20 and a hog rifle
Yeah.
for the land at Brushy and 4,000 acres on the mountain.
Wow.
Yeah. Which actually they burnt him out.
Right.
He didn't want to sign it over, but they burnt him out twice, and that's what he ended up with out of all that land.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot
Oh, wow.
of crookedness that happened on this land.
Yeah.
The Yuchi Indians owned it. It was the Cherokee that came in and took it from them. They claimed that was a cursed piece of land from there on. So there was also Civil War activity that happened here, battles that were fought. So there's just a lot of history. We have the limestone at Brushy. We have the underground water at Brushy. We're on a fault line here. So they couldn't have picked a better
Source of energy.
Yeah.
It's just,
exactly.
It's just, as you all know.
Yeah. And the whole town is
Yeah.
has activity. It's not just Brushy. I mean, the whole town is, full of activity. So
Yeah.
it's we love living here. It's a special place. So
Yeah, and that makes sense when you think about the geology and, like you said, the limestone, the rock, the moving water, all those things. It's not surprising that the town, being on that fault line, all those things, that the town itself would also be a nexus of activity. That really makes sense if you think about it. So
yeah,
Right.
it's pretty
yeah. And we
wild.
got natural cave systems and all kinds of stuff here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a hotbed for activity. We have any kind of haunting that's out there. We've had it, from strange lights to full-bodied apparitions. I mean, the EVPs you get here are Class A. They're unmistakable. We just get it all, really. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we've had anything here that. I think we've seen everything here. When we go somewhere else, we're like, yeah, that's really cool, but we've seen that before.
It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to top it when you have such a place that you're at all the time. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard for you guys to find places that wow you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for those,
Sometimes we do, but yeah, Brushy's the best place I've ever been.
Yeah.
For real.
I know when we've had the pleasure of coming up there and investigating, it's not disappointed. It's definitely been active and interesting, and experiences that are some of my favorite in my 15 years of time in the paranormal. That was the first place I was ever actually, I guess, really. I mean, I'd been touched before, but not on the level I was down in the hole. I was
Yeah.
down in that middle cell in the hole, and I was actually just filming my guys trying to do a spirit box session, and something felt like it grabbed the back of my neck and literally pushed me out of that cell. And it was one of those like surreal things, because as it happened, I kind of had that like, oh my God, did that really just happen? It took a minute to register how forceful that was.
Yeah.
So I didn't react like you would normally react real quick. It was kind of a delayed. And then I was like, oh man, that really just happened. And I kind of took off out of the cell area. Because I don't know, I just took off. It was like, that was the
Yeah.
solution. But it was
A
kind of
lot of
crazy.
experiences here are like that. They're just it's so in your face here. It's unmistakable. It's in your face. It's overwhelming in the moment. Like you said, you don't really react how you think you would, because you just never know what you're going to get here. And it's just, I don't know. Yeah. It's an interesting place for sure.
Yeah, my favorite part of going is driving up to it at night, because it's just so ominous looking and
It really is.
creepy. I mean, it's creepy. It's
Yeah,
all-
once you make that last turn and it just kind of comes into view, it is.
They did that on purpose. They wanted that to intimidate the men coming here. They wanted them to look at that coming up the road all the way in. And, any of them that come back will tell you that, and they'll also tell you if someone says they come in here and they weren't crying when they got to that Sally Port, they're lying.
Yeah.
They're lying.
Yeah.
So
I remember back when we first started coming up here, there was no electricity, no nothing. Nobody was here, and everything was super dark. And it really was intimidating when we first started coming. And I mean, you could feel the energy as soon as you walked through. We used to go in the Sallyport doors, and as soon as you walked through them, I mean, you could just feel the place buzzing with energy, and it was insane, really. I mean, the first night we come in here, we were like, "Oh my God, we've hit the motherlode! This place is crazy!" And we just didn't go anywhere. We stayed. We dug our heels
No,
in.
when she says we didn't go anywhere, we would come up here and bring like kerosene heaters up, and we
In the
would
middle of
put
the
them
winter.
into the guard towers, and we would go out, and everything would be covered in ice and snow, and we'd go out and hunt all night long, but go in the guard tower just long enough to heat up.
Warm up, yeah, defrost a little bit,
And
right?
then we'd go home for a little bit, and then we'd come back and stay here all day.
Yeah.
Like our husbands threatened to change our address and everything.
Start forwarding your mail and
Yeah, we did that every day for years.
Yeah.
Like it was,
Yeah.
we probably got thousands of hours of footage, and it's crazy.
Wow.
But that's the thing about Brushy too. It draws you in. Like when this place opened up as the tourist destination that it is now, people quit their jobs
They
to come
really
work
did.
up there.
They did.
Like
Oh,
it's
wow.
something about Brushy that just draws people back. I mean, just about
Yeah.
everybody that's been has come back.
Oh yeah, they'll come
Yeah.
through. This is my 5th time this summer coming.
wow.
And they're like, I don't know why I keep coming back, and I'm like, you're not the only one, So it does. It just draws you in, and there's something about this place. I don't know. It's weird. It is.
Brooke Hutchinson says that, hey, everyone, Brushy is amazing. So obviously, there you go.
Hey,
Yeah, Brooke is awesome.
Yeah.
Brooke
Didn't see my
actually
wave.
witnessed one of probably our best
Best.
experiences.
Yes, one of our favorites.
As far as personal experiences, we got audio. We didn't have any video. People had actually just finished at like Facebook Live and turned off their cameras, and we'd been sitting there. But long story short, a shadow figure formed and walked the length of the cafeteria in front of a
Oh,
whole
wow.
bunch of people.
12 of us.
On Easter
Wow.
weekend.
Yeah.
Brooke was one of them that was there,
Yeah.
her and Catherine. And so
Yeah.
you just never know what you're going to get up there, and it usually will blow you away for sure.
So, what would you say has been the absolute best experience you guys have had up there individually? What's been your the top experience you've had?
That one.
That'd be it. All right, cool.
So I think that one it was unexpected, and I guess just seeing it form, it was everything that you hope to capture, but we all got to witness it. And then in our audio, you hear a man clearly, because there was a light that kept coming on. It was a big spotlight that you had to push a button and make this light turn on, but it kept coming on. And this man, he turns it off and he says, "Leave this light alone." And you hear a man reply back and says, "No, watch this." And that's when it forms.
Wow.
You know how like the beam of a light will shoot out across the
Yeah.
room? It forms on the edge and it strolls across the cafeteria
Yes,
front.
into the
And
darkness.
on our audio, all you hear is us going, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
We're dropping F-bombs
Yeah,
because nobody can believe what's happening.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things that I don't think it was really meant to be captured. It was the highlight of personal experiences, I think.
Right.
Would we wish we had captured it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, I think
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
camera rolling, we would have
No,
not experienced it.
we had just turned our cameras off when that happened. It was almost like, he was there, because it kept building, and it almost made you feel like you were fixing to be attacked.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then looking back, I don't think it was
Yeah.
being like
I think he was kind of building
just
energy.
building his
Yeah.
energy.
And it was,
you know?
I think,
So that it could manifest.
one of those okay, you want to see something? Here you go.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think the group of people we had, I think everything just kind of fell into place that night. Well, I don't think we'll ever be able to recreate it. May not ever have an experience like that ever again.
The
but-
one thing we did do that night we just found out recently about the Yuchi Indians, but we did play Cherokee music that night.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Kind of made it a little
could
upset.
have made it mad
Yeah.
because we have we've dug into like the Native American history and not really found anything that had fit per se. And then when we would try to like do experiments with that, it would almost be like it would make it mad instead, and so once we found out about the Yuchi, see the Cherokee come in here and there was a big battle between them and the Yuchi and they took the land from them. And so that was when we was like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
maybe that's why, so we actually are going to work on that
Yeah.
theory, but
Then try to do something more specific to the Yuchi and see if that changes the activity. That would be really interesting to see
Yeah.
what the difference is.
Yeah.
So
we
that
actually
leads.
found that out the day after you all came
Yep.
the last
Oh,
time.
really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Literally the next
We was
day.
like, man,
Yeah.
I wish we'd have known that last night because
Yeah.
that would have been so much
Well,
great information to have.
because we had an interaction in the cafeteria that particular time with one you guys called Chief, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and we had that interaction, so that is kind of cool that you found something related to that the
Yeah.
next night. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also found out that they really held feathers as really holy symbols.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah, that
we find
was
the feathers everywhere.
One
up
of their
there.
like
Yeah.
big tribal symbols. And we like right under our noses all this time. It's amazing. You can research and research and research, but until you find that missing link, that one thing that you've overlooked or, just didn't stumble on.
Right.
And that's something that as an offering would probably be, Christina may want to jump in here on this one, but that would be a good offering for you guys, would be a properly obtained feather. Would probably be a good offering for you all to leave.
Yeah.
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 I can help you with that.
What
I
you
can
think,
help
Christina?
you with that. If you need one, let me know.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that kind of leads us to an interesting thing to discuss. So you guys have tried different experiments like playing the Native American music. Have you tried other types of role playing using, trigger items specific to the prison? What other kind of techniques do you guys find? Because I know for us, we find that sometimes historical role playing, sometimes offerings, depending on what you're dealing with, sometimes Native American music, shamanic drums. There's a multitude of things that we've employed over the years in certain cases that seem to really amplify activity or introduce new activity to sites. So what's been your guys' experience with some of that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah. Like we bring Coke, chocolate, liquor, stuff. They love that kind of stuff. That's stuff they didn't have access to. Cigarettes, of course. Cards.
Playboy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, just whatever. But we get really good responses out of that. Now we have done several like mock scenarios and have had amazing results out of that. We actually did one on B side. There was a shooting, and we brought a cap gun in.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And reenacted that. That got some good stuff. We've reenacted like sick calls, like when the nurse would come through, and we've got good stuff out of that.
We also filmed a sizzle reel one night that they asked us to reenact the guy that had his throat cut in the auditorium, and we did do that. Now they brought in the blood. They brought in
Wow!
Wow. Throat cut.
Yeah, he had his throat cut. He had the uniform on. He crawled from the auditorium out to the hospital. That really got good activity. That got some crazy. Even the film crew was just like, holy crap!
Yeah.
What
They were like,
happened?
what? Yeah.
And that's Johnny that you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good interaction with Johnny in the infirmary that first night we came.
We did. We were able to get the lighting of the cigarette, and
Yeah.
we were actually getting corresponding meter hits. So every time the cigarette would light, we were getting meter hits that corresponded with that, which was really cool for us because that was like a cross validation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have between us, we have just about every kind of piece of equipment there is, really, as far as like standard ghost hunting equipment goes, and some kind of outbox stuff. And all of our activity, like we don't really focus on the equipment, but as the activity's going, the equipment corresponds with, you know,
Validates, helps you validate the experience.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it definitely goes hand in hand. And the EDI box is one of our favorites to use. Yeah, we have had
My
it.
go-to.
Yeah, we bought the original when they first started producing them. And we were like, these things are awesome. And we used them when there was no electricity here, nothing like that. And you could watch the changes on the box, and we can set it down and we can tell you when the activity's getting ready to start just by what the box is doing. And so we found that's pretty neat here too. Like you can gauge what's getting ready to happen, you know, as far as, you know, like if you're just kind of getting a little bit of activity, or if something big's getting ready to happen, we've been here so long, we can kind of look at the equipment and say, okay, yeah, something's getting ready to build, you know. So it's, we use our equipment that way, I think, more than, you know, relying on like interaction, you know, with the equipment, or use it to kind of validate, you know, that,
Well, and that's another thing too that I know that we found. Like we've got like the Tipton Haynes and the Nickerson Sneed, which is our home haunt. Those places that we go and investigate a lot, you actually do build up a rapport or relationship with the spirits that are there. They get used to you and your energy, so you're able to interact without needing as much things. I mean, we can go with just ourselves and, you know, dowsing rods and a meter like the EDI, and that's all we need for the entire night. Really, in places we go a lot of times, because we've established that relationship with the spirits that are there. So I would say for you guys, with all those years of investigating at Brushy, you've got a direct connection to these folks. And that's pretty cool. And I think that's what helps you get those interactions.
We still get some though that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get,
there's
some like we had you all come up. We're trying to figure one out now, you know, that we're not, you know, we can't put our finger on. So
it's been interesting to see the evolution too, from when we started, and, you know, we were the first people to go in there and investigate, and from the very beginning to now, when all these people have traveled through it, the activity has, you know, evolved over the years, and it has changed. And it's interesting too to sit back and watch the different people, how they react to different personalities, different, you know, types of people that come in there, and you can watch it. It's really been,
we can predict when they come in, our groups come in, we can predict they're not going to get anything tonight. You know, we know from the beginning, you know,
just read the energy.
Yeah.
And there's something to that, right? I mean, the energy that people bring is a big thing, and that's something we talk about a lot.
I think they're like us, you know, there may be one person in the group or something they don't like, and therefore they're just not going to come through. Like, because we've noticed that when groups come back, they'll have better experiences the second, third, or fifth time than they did the first. Because they've built that rapport up.
Yeah, it took us kind of, when we started getting our good activity was when we sat down and just said, tell us your story. That's what we did. We just went in and sat down and said, we want to hear what you have to say. We didn't talk. We didn't ask questions. And that's when it really just kind of exploded.
We didn't put words in their mouth. You know, did you murder someone? You know, what were you in here for? Did you kill Granny? You know, we didn't do. We just offered them an open space to say, hey, you know, tell us your story. And they did. I mean, they flat did. They did.
And what was interesting, like for us, it was hard to find like records and stuff, like get access to records. And so we couldn't just pull up a list of inmate names and things like that. So we would take what we'd get. Now, if we had got a name, then we could search that way. So we would get a name. They would give us dates, how they died, and then we could go search. And we would find death certificates with that name and the year, and you know, how they died would be accurate. So that was fun for us too. I think that was part of the addiction part too, was like,
that's where I grew to really love my EVPs, because we got a lot of that through EVP, you know, numbers, dates, you know, like even with the Magnificent Seven, the shooting there, you know, we kept getting February 8th. And for a long time I was like, are they picking up on my birthday? Because it's February 9th. Well, but then we got to finally, when we got to researching it, that happened on that day. And we didn't know.
And see, initially we were told that shooting happened on a floor below where it actually happened. And we would go in there and it would be like three,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no. And so finally we figured out, oh, we're in the wrong place. And they've been trying to tell us this the whole
whole
time.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely been an experience. I mean, we've learned a lot. So it's, definitely a fond place for all of us for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Brooke mentioned here, I'm getting caught up on, there's several comments, but she mentioned that you guys actually were in James Earl Ray's cell, and you guys played MLK's speech.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the
it
So
fifth anniversary.
what happened with that?
We got a lot of shut up.
Yeah, we got told to shut up.
They were hear them yelling it.
Yeah.
They were saying, "Shut up! Turn that off!" And
No.
we got that on recorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Wow.
stuff
Yeah.
out of
That's
that.
awesome.
But now here's the other side of that, though. We don't, or I don't believe that he did do that. But he carried the rap for it. So still, are you going to get that kind of, is he going to be hostile toward you over that? Because I mean, he had to carry that burden all those years and not doing it. Even the King family believed he was innocent.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
Brooks, I
isn't
did
there
that, by the way.
Yeah.
isn't there something that we're on record? Wasn't it one of the King relatives that came forward and had said that? I remember hearing
son.
that somewhere.
We
Ah.
have an interview with his son. They came to Brushy actually and met with him. Now here's the other side of that. So, but I kind of dig into the wrong side of things. But I have to wonder if he really died of health issues. Because he was fixing to get this trial. They had worked years to get that, and he was fixing to get it, and then lo and behold, he dies before that happens. But
Wow.
but yeah, the King family believed he was innocent.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
That's a well-known fact. There's a lot on the internet about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there about it.
Yeah. But he had just escaped from Missouri State.
Yes.
And here he is with a new Mustang and and a ticket overseas, and where did he get all that? He's a convict.
Right.
But I do believe he bought the gun. I do believe he did that. And he claimed, he said he did that, but I don't think he shot him. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, like Al said, I mean, I've seen a few of course, conspiracy theories. You always kind of have to try to figure that the truth is somewhere in the mix there, because there's always threads that go in all different directions. But it's definitely fascinating. But I do remember reading specifically one about the King family and it might have been when I was researching the first time we came up there, because that's one of the big things we like to do is we really dig into the history of places and we really get deep into the history. And it might have been in talking to you that I first heard about that, but I actually read somewhere in something that we were researching that talked about their persistence on that they felt that he had been wrongfully convicted of that, which is very fascinating. So what about any of the other famous prisoners? Have you ever had any interactions like Lotax Looper? Did you have anything that you've ever gotten him on EVP or had contact with him that you're aware of?
Stuff out of the cell he was at. Now he didn't die here, but
Okay.
but we have went to his cell that he was in. He did attempt suicide there. And we have got some stuff, but again, we've not really focused on it enough to know if it's him or if it's someone else. I mean, that's the thing about Brushy, and people think, 10,000 deaths. We had 250,000 men that went through here.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah.
And this wasn't a typical prison. This was set up for labor. They had to mine this coal. They had to raise their food, their livestock, everything. They built the prison. They quarried the rock. They done it all. So
They actually had an actual working farm on the property for them that they maintained, correct?
Yeah. And then they had the coke ovens, and I mean, they had it.
They sawmills and
it was crazy. What
Sounds like a labor camp.
It was.
It really did. Yeah. The state started seeing a decline in their coal production. Of course, they were losing money then, so they sent an investigator in to see what was going on. And when he come in, he found that what was like 90%.
Yeah.
90% of the inmates here were lame and crippled from the beatings that they got. And that's why the coal production went down, because these men were forced to work sick with broken bones after they were beat, and they just couldn't do the work. And
They were actually bringing in men from jails and putting them in the mines at that time. And,
Oh, wow.
and we've found like reports where they would arrest men for petty crime and they would put them up here, you know,
just to have,
just
you
to
know,
have men
labor.
to work this work up here. So it was a
in its early days, it was
a crooked place.
It really was.
It
I mean,
really
it's,
was.
you know, I mean, it's horrifying what they did to these
The
people
men
that
called
night.
it hell on earth, you know, and they even had little work camps out in the mountains around other coal mines. And the men would rather be in those little work camps than at the prison, you know, with a bed. So, you know, and they hot bunked it every 12 hours. They shift changed. So these men worked around the clock.
Yeah, so they actually doubled the capacity of the prison, right? More than it was designed for by doing that, because you had one group in the mine for 12 hours, and then you swapped them out and put them in a
Yeah.
cell, and then you had 12, you know, another shift of people in there. So they were actually getting double capacity. I would assume that was also
Oh,
double
yeah.
coal production, right?
If not more, because they were always overcrowded. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, I mean, you know, that's a recipe for, as you guys well know, everything you need for a haunting, right? I mean, you got a lot of tragedy, a lot of death, a lot of sorrow, a lot of just really bad stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely a fascinating place. We had another comment. I'll pop it up there for y'all. So you got our first ever EVP there.
Tyrone.
Tyrone, yeah. Yeah, you get fabulous EVP from Brushy. Yeah.
What's been your favorite?
Oh, man.
I don't know. There's
There's
so
so
many.
many.
Top 5.
I think probably the very first one that we got that was so clear, when we had the women from Florida and we were talking about the shooting, and I said both of their names were James, and you hear a man, he says, I was one of these, you know, just kind
Oh,
of.
wow.
That one. Let's see.
And
The step back, way back.
yes, Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie. Like,
And here's the other
they're
one.
trying to get her to mess with some equipment, and you hear her say, "Step back, step way,
Way
back."
back,
And when
yeah.
you step back, then she turns it on.
Yeah.
There was one night, like I just felt like somebody was like behind me, like running behind me, and I felt something touch my back, and I was like, "Oh, something just touched me." And you hear her laugh,
Yeah.
like this
Oh,
creepy,
wow.
evil laugh, and I was like, "God, that's so don't do that."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
How many female spirits have you encountered there? I mean, it was a real prison.
just the one.
Yeah.
Just the one.
Mhm.
Who was she?
We think she was out of our family. We've established that she was here before the prison was built. There is a Bonnie on our family tree.
Yeah.
So that's where we think she came
Yeah.
from. Because this was a homestead before that, you know, before the prison.
She's been there a while.
But we've started getting a little boy also, and going through some of our old EVPs, we found where early on when we were coming in, we were getting a kid. A lot out into the courtyard is where we would usually get him, but you would hear him laugh. One in particular, Tiffany says, "Where are you at?" And you hear him, he goes, "I'm right here."
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Very creepy.
But we believe now with people that have come in, some psychics that have been in that have picked up on the same thing. We found that we believe he's about a 4-year-old little Indian boy. We call him Little Bear.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get him. But now I'll tell you this too. Brushy also, the youngest one on record that we have that was in Brushy was 10 years old.
That we found so far.
Golly.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, he was put in here for stealing bread.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That's
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. We've never found a record where he was ever released either. So, yeah.
That's terrible.
So I guess there's a lot of documented deaths, and then there's probably a lot of undocumented things that probably happened there as well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's 17 men still in a coal mine here, you know.
Oh, wow.
They had a crematory here. They claim they never used it, but
Why would you have
Why
one
would
if you
you
weren't
have
going to
one,
use
you
it?
know?
So,
Not going to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and
Like-
digging through the records, a lot of these men were from poor areas. They were from out of state. Like during the times of the Depression, even if they had died, their families didn't have the means to come claim their bodies. So they could pretty much do whatever they wanted to and say, oh, well, they died, and then throw them in the cemetery, and nobody was none the wiser of how they died or, anything.
look, we
like that.
found one record where it claimed that 50 had dug 20 foot out of a coal mine. Now, anyone that knows anything about a coal mine, you're not digging 20 foot out of it. But these men escaped, and the dogs were too fat to run that day. They'd been overfed, and, just vanished, So we kind of think that might have been like a cover up for a lot of the deaths also.
They also tried to say we only had 3 inmates in our cemetery here, which anybody who has lived here knows better.
Yeah.
Like it's not true.
Which you can see the graves where they've caved in now, but with pictures from the old timers here, we've taken the pictures up, and these men have been going up and marking these graves back, and right now we're up to 418.
Holy
Wow.
cow.
Yeah, that's how many we've got marked, and we're a little over halfway through the field. We've not maybe halfway. Yeah.
And that's the thing too. What did they do when they ran out of land to bury them on?
They took them to. We do know they took them to
Yeah.
another location.
Oh wow.
So they
So
took
they
them
had
off site to bury them?
So
Pardon?
they had an
They
off-site.
took them off site?
There's a graveyard that we know that's here in the county that they took them to. Yeah.
And then we were told too, like, say they were working at the mine and they just fell over dead or something happened to them there, they wouldn't even bury them. They just leave them laying,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't even bring them back. They wouldn't bury them or anything. So there's no telling. It would probably be mind blowing to know exactly how many really were.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be cool to find out how many spirits are actually in that place too,
It was.
all
Yeah.
that.
My grandmother's probably one of the older living relatives now. I think she's probably the oldest that's living right now. But when she lived up there, she still talks about hearing the beating. She said you could hear the men screaming while they were beating them, and then it would be a day or so after those beatings that they would be taking one to the cemetery. She said you could always lay money on it. So, who knows?
Wow.
That's horrible.
It's an amazing location, and I think it's really good that not only you guys preserving the paranormal history of it, but that somebody is investing in that place and preserving it to some degree, because there's so many historical places like that just disappear. And that's what I think is great about what we do in the paranormal. Those of us that really take this serious, we work with these historical places so that we can help bring people otherwise in that wouldn't necessarily be into the history if it wasn't for that. So I think we usher in a whole nother crowd of people. And I know, speaking for our team, that's what we do at Tipton Haynes. It's what we do at the Historic Deary Inn. I mean, in some cases, the public events that we put on there actually bring in more money than they do on their historical tours for the whole year. And we're only there for a couple of nights. So I just think it's great that we're able in the paranormal to do that and preserve that history. So I know you guys do a lot of events up there, don't you, throughout the year?
Well, they do, like right now they're doing a lot of concerts and stuff of that sort. Now we're starting to do more events for the paranormal. We've got Nick Groff coming back this fall. In August we have is it R&R Live? Yeah, R&R Live. Chili's bringing his crew up here, so
Cool.
they'll be doing an event. That's something we've just started really doing. This year we're gonna test the waters, I guess.
Yeah. Nick,
You guys do some flashlight tours though too, don't you? Don't you do like some nighttime flashlight tours on Halloween?
we do that stuff. We just wanted to maintain the integrity of the paranormal up there, and Nick Groff's crew, they done an amazing job on the event they had. And so, we want to be, selective
Selective.
about who gets
Yes.
to do an event and make sure, they're doing it for the right reasons. And, all the factual information that we have can be put out there, and, things that we don't want. We're pretty protective and don't want it took advantage of.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Right.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yep. That's one of the things that we talk about a lot, on not only when we do these lives, but my team, we discuss this frequently. One of our big pet peeves is people that don't take the stuff serious, the thrill seekers that go and do crazy, silly things. You guys see them. I mean, they do some of this stuff, and it really hurts the paranormal. It hurts the genuine research that a lot of us are trying to do. So I totally get that. And, we're the same way. We're very selective about even who, we allow to do events with us for that very reason, or who we choose to work with. We're selective in that for the same reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're all, everybody wants to have a good time, but you got to make sure that you're, trying to do the best job you can and preserve, like you said, preserving the history for us is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Telling their stories, making sure that, that's told and the history's preserved and, they're respected and things like that, they're.
I think that's when we started getting a lot more activity out of Brushy is, when we made that promise, if you'll tell us your stories, we'll tell them, we'll make sure it gets told. And we kept our word. We're doing it. We're up there, beating feet through there, doing tour after tour, telling this stuff. And it just, it's keeping it alive. We keep getting more and more and more. And, I don't know. It's,
Yeah.
I don't.
You guys need to write a book.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
I mean, we do know a publisher. We have one on our team, so I'll just throw that out there. Rhonda is a publisher, she owns a publishing company, so I'm sure she'd be more than happy to help you do a book. Just plug that for her.
We need a ghostwriter, somebody be like us talk, and they say, "I get what you're saying. I can put that in for you to understand." That's what we need.
I mean, because I'm sure you guys have enough documented stuff that you could probably put out a fascinating book that I think people in the paranormal community would love to read it. I mean, I just think that'd be a great idea.
There
I think
is.
we could do a series.
I know.
There you go.
They're like, I was listening to something that was like 8 years ago. Do you remember getting this? And I'm blown away all over again about what we got that night. And I'm like, I need to remember that one. And there's just so much over the years that we've captured. It's just, it'd take a team to go through it, I'll tell you.
And it's shocking too when you get to digging on the history part of that, and you find documentation of how crooked the place could really be at times. It wasn't from beginning to end every single day, but there was definitely years throughout its history that would blow your mind.
Especially the early years.
Yeah.
The early years, like 50s and prior, were really, really bad here.
Yeah.
And when we talk about how horrible these inmates were treated and beaten and stuff, that's generally the time period that we're referring to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Back in the real early days of the prison and back during the coal mining, because the coal mining, when did that end? When did that end?
ended late 60s.
Yeah.
Late 60s.
Yeah.
So
Right
I
after
would say,
they ended the men that's still in the coal mine, actually, wasn't it? Wasn't that the one that ended it?
Thanks.
I think so. I think that one's,
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we found where the women, they were bringing black women in here, and they were handcuffing them and hanging them from pegs. We believe that happened in the hole, where they hung the men from their thumbs. But they would hang one that we found in particular. She was complaining about a job she was asked to do, and they brought her in up here for 10 hours and hung her from a peg.
Oh my God.
So, that's stuff that doesn't get told. But and the one thing they didn't bank on, was a little thing called what we're using here, the internet,
Yeah.
So now it's out. And
Yep. Yeah, so it's a lot harder. We live and that's true. We live in a society now where you can't get away with the things that they could, 50, 60, 70 years ago.
right.
It's too many. Everybody's got a camera. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got the ability to instantly tell a story.
Right.
And just knowing what they did, I would hate to think of what we don't know that they did.
Yeah.
The things that you'll probably never
No.
find out. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You know,
that's
I'm curious. Do you have a specific time of year that seems to be more active than others?
Cooler months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just from the fall on,
Well,
Yeah.
I
You
know
still
it was cold that night. That first night we come, it was November, and we would go out, then we'd come back in your little office there where the heaters were.
Oh, yeah. It's got its own weather system. Like it's
Yeah.
10 degrees different up there than it is
Yeah.
a mile down at the gate.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the summer months, you may come up there. We may have a cool night on the summer, and and even if it's not cool in the summer, you'll still get activity. You just get better activity in the cooler.
More prolonged
Yeah.
activity in
Yeah.
the cooler weather. Like you'll get activity, but it's sporadic and stuff when it's really hot. But yeah, in the wintertime, it'll go for hours. I mean, there's been nights up here that we're just like, well, y'all just keep on. We're going home. Just keep on. We're done for the night.
it kind of makes you wonder if maybe the increased static energy that you have in the cooler months versus the heavier humidity that maybe dampers some of that energy. So maybe their ability
Setting
to
of the veil.
pull energy environmentally isn't that's interesting that the correlation there between the cooler months and more activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just like everybody wants to hunt on a full moon, and they're like, "Oh, we're so excited! It's full moon tonight." And we're like, "Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but you're not going to get nothing on a full moon."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a full moon for some reason kills activity.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
It's very quiet.
Well,
That's unusual.
It was a full moon when we were there.
we were. There was a full moon. It was Friday the 13th on the full
And a full
moon.
moon
Yeah.
when we were there.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You like again when she says quiet, you'll still get some stuff. But when we
Not
say
like what you guys are used to.
Yeah.
Right. When we
Yeah.
say
Quiet to you guys.
it's like, "Oh my God, we got all this stuff."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, that's kind of a quiet night." So
but now new moons at Brushy is
Different
yeah.
energy. That's
Yeah.
a different power right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of people forget about the new moon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New moon, Brushy Mountain comes alive. Yeah.
And Easter weekend.
Yeah. I don't know. We don't know. We don't
Really?
that out.
Yes.
Yeah.
all we know is it's just
That's
crazy.
actually when we seen the
shadow
apparition.
appear,
Yeah.
Every
That's cool.
lockdown has been some kind of awe-inspiring, like, oh my God, experience every
I
Easter.
wonder why.
I don't know, but Brushy's built in the shape of a cross also,
Mhm.
but it's an upside down cross. And they did do that on purpose to send a message to the men they were unworthy. But what we found in our cemetery, that Christians bury to the east. They have buried all of our men to the west. So
Wow.
they even buried them
Wow.
back.
So there were a lot of religious implications, here too. So, I mean, maybe that's it. And you can feel the energy building as Easter weekend comes to be. Like, Friday, you have
Friday
great stuff
before.
happen,
Mhm.
and it just builds and builds, and it just kind of culminates about midnight into, going into Easter Sunday, and it just kind of explodes.
It was actually it was about 5 minutes
It's after midnight
midnight.
when we seen that,
Yeah.
that shadow figure. Yeah.
Easter.
What are you guys doing next Easter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, used to we'd lock ourselves in from Friday to Sunday, and but now
Let's go ahead and book that now.
We've been waiting for an Easter to fall in March. So
Yeah.
if that happens, then we'll have
It's
a week.
game on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask an unfair question to you guys because when you have a place like Brushy Mountain as your home haunt, this next question is kind of a silly question for you guys. But outside of where you have a dream location that you actually is your home haunt, what would be your dream location if you could go investigate anywhere in the world? What would you guys pick?
Anywhere in Europe, really, but I want to go hunt the Yeti at the Dyatlov Pass in Russia. That's my dream.
Michelle?
She can lead.
In Russia, hunting the Yeti. So yeah, that's probably like at the top, and then the witches' castle in Europe, where they
Oh,
prosecuted all the the witches, and there's legends of werewolves in the forest surrounding the castle. Like that's at the top of my list too. Like yeah. So
I just
definitely.
don't think I have. I mean, we were talking about this earlier.
I just want to go. I'm not
I
just want to go.
because sometimes you can go to some off the wall location that you think maybe you might get something, but you're not. And you get the Holy Grail, and you can go to somewhere like Waverly or somewhere, and you won't get anything.
Yeah.
So it's a hit
That's
or
true.
miss. So
Yeah.
That's very
It
true.
you
really
never
is.
know where you're going to go. I mean, one of my favorite locations I think that I've ever been, and one of the best things I caught was at the Bell Witch Caves.
Yeah. So right here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's on our list for sure. So would you enjoy that place? Was it?
Oh my gosh.
We did.
Yeah, she got an awesome picture. It's on her Facebook page. Yeah, she got an awesome apparition picture.
I was
of the
really
cave.
disappointed leaving because I guarantee you'll have an experience, and I didn't think we did. And so when I was leaving the cave, we were the last out, and I just turned around and stuck my camera out and just took a picture and didn't look at it. We walk on out. He shuts the gate behind us, and then we finish our tour. But when I got back home, I'm looking through my pictures, and just standing dead center of the cave was a man standing there looking right at me, with his head turned looking at us. So, but you can feel that place is just,
You can feel it way before you ever get there.
yeah. But we were with some people too. I want to go back with a group, and do a real investigation. We were with some people that were goofing off and stuff, so we couldn't really do anything. But
So when are we going?
Yeah, really.
So when are we
Right up our
going?
alley.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Lockdown ends the first, so
Right.
let's do it.
Well, I'm currently not working, so
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just saying. I mean, we love working with you guys, so it sounds like we need to do this and plan it. I'm just saying.
We
That
are
is a fantastic. When you get off the interstate going into that town, the whole town it has a different feeling about it.
That's
It's-
like Salem, Massachusetts. Same
Yeah.
thing. When you go to Salem, it's got its own vibration. It's really cool.
yeah.
I mean, I started feeling heavy as soon as we exited I can't talk, interstate, just heading down through there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, I can't breathe. It was just so heavy. And the closer we got, the worse it was. But it is a good place to go.
Yeah.
so how many of
And
you are
Brooke says, "Let's go."
or is anybody a medium?
I wouldn't call us mediums, but we're all sensitive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we're all like granny witch, like Appalachian, like granny witch descendant kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would never call myself a psychic, but
You got to be careful what you say around these parts too. You
I like it.
Oh
be
my
buried over our
So,
corpses.
let me tell you what happened to us. The first year we opened up, which granted, we had been up here for a few years prior to this, and we didn't put a lot of stuff out there because these people will tar and feather you. And so opening our tour, the news come up and did a Halloween special on our tours being open and stuff like that. The next day, a local church put up a sign saying the only ghost you're going to catch here is the Holy Ghost. And when I say sign, I'm talking like a billboard right in the middle of town. And I'm like,
So there was no question who that was directed towards. Huh?
Right.
we're going to be burned at the stake,
Yeah.
let me tell you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is funny because in a big group, and I mean, y'all probably found this too, like in kind of mass groups in this area where people are so religious and just how they're taught and the things they believe, they say, oh, I don't believe that. And you're hunting demons and you're messing with bad stuff. But you get those people by themselves individually and they've all had an experience.
Yeah.
And they
And they're
all-
interested in it.
Open-minded. You can get them one at a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That's absolutely true.
You live together and it's a religion. Like it's like a mob mentality around here.
We do live in the Bible Belt, so
Yes.
And we live in the buckle.
And each to their own,
Yeah.
you know, you worship how you believe and
Right.
just don't.
Don't judge.
There's no judgment here. No judgment here.
Yeah.
Well, I had my first experience when I was 2, and I know it was my great grandmother, and I know who, you know, she was talking to me. My mother and my dad both was there when it happened. And, you know, so I had witnesses to it. You know, and she wasn't a devil. She was a Bible thumper.
Grandmother. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, and I know, so if she could come back, and I can remember even, and it's so funny that it's etched into my memory at such a young age, but, you know, she just wanted to know if my mom was feeding me. And what's funny about it is my mom said she always fed me chicken noodle soup because that's what I wanted, but she always said I wasn't getting enough nutrition. And so that was what she asked me. And she did say that she'd see me again one day soon. The next time I seen her was after I had my son. I named my son after her husband, and she come and thanked me for the name. So,
Wow.
but you know, I mean, so I've seen things all my life, and it's not. Listen, if you bump into a demon, when you do that, you're gonna know. You know the difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that raises something that,
Yeah,
that
we're careful about, you know, how we label ourselves.
Yeah.
and you have to be. But you raise a good point, though, when you mention the demon thing, because I think that's something that is just thrown around so willy-nilly in the paranormal. Everything's a demon, everything, you know. And that's so crazy to me, because I think, and this is kind of what we always say, I think people are in death as they were in life. I mean, if you were an ass in life, you're going to be one in death. It's not a shocker when you encounter a negative spirit that was a jerk when they were alive, then they're still a jerk. They didn't change because they died.
Right.
Absolutely. And that's something else that we strongly, strongly believe in, because as we've been up at Brushy all these years, contacting the same spirits over and over, you see personality traits, you know, you see that how they are. Some are funny, some are not funny and don't think you're funny either. And, you know, some are just mean and nasty, and some are liars, and, you know, and it's, and
wait a minute, in a prison, you've encountered liars? I find that hard to believe.
they don't like cameras. They will turn your cameras off.
They will turn your cameras off.
Of course, inmates, you know, their worst enemy is a camera. And so you're going to catch them doing stuff they ain't supposed to be doing. And they want to tell their story. You know, you talk to an inmate and they want to tell you, you know, their side of things. And so that's kind of where we got the idea of, hey, you tell us your story. You know?
Chrissy.
And so it's, I definitely agree. Like, if you were nasty in life, you're going to be nasty in the afterlife.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think sometimes that's what gets mislabeled, especially to inexperienced people. I mean, you know, and I'm not talking just investigators. I mean, just people have a negative encounter and they automatically assume, oh my God, it's a demon. It's something, or their upbringing teaches them that everything that we do is that way anyway. So those things culminate into, oh my God, it's got to be a demon because it's negative. And in our experience, I mean, all the hundreds of investigations we've done and all over the country and places we've been, to this day, I don't think I've ever encountered anything that I would label demonic. Dark, yes. Negative, yes. Elemental, absolutely. But demonic, no. Not in my experience.
I don't know.
And we find that
I don't know if I can say that.
we get stuff up there that, you know, will say the word demon.
Yeah.
And especially like in our gym, that one will tell you that. You'll say,
and he's
what's
not.
your name? Demon.
Right.
And you can just hear it in his voice.
Right.
And like, I've even got one recording where he says that and you hear him laughing afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're such an ass. But, you know, people who aren't familiar with that particular spirit will come back and say, we got a demon in the gym. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I agree. Yeah. People throw that word around.
They do.
And even
and that's the point I'm making. That I think it's pretty rare, right? I mean, it's a rare thing to encounter that.
Yeah, I think it's rare.
Yeah.
Brooke said that there. Number one rule at Brushy.
Oh my God, no.
You'd be amazed how many people lose stuff in the porta potties up there.
And I gotta say, it would stay there. I mean, I would just have to buy a new radio.
Oh, no.
I'm not digging nothing out.
No, it stays. It's it.
I do know you guys are going to have to put some lights back there at the porta potties.
Well,
hopefully the bathrooms will be back
Yes.
up and working then.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it is kind of a scary walk back there by yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, not for you guys probably, but for those of us that are just visiting, it's like, man, this is kind of creepy going back here by myself.
If I was a man, I wouldn't be using
Yeah, I
one.
would find a bush somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, she says she got it back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, besides the Bell Witch Cave, were some other places that you guys have went that you really enjoyed? I know you guys have been lots of places.
I would say Trans-Allegheny.
I think Trans-Allegheny is the only place that I can say we went that
Has
compares to what we get at Brushy. The same, it's kind of got the same vibe. I felt
Yes.
while we were there. I don't know, but
Or the Wicklands. I like that.
Wickland.
it was good, and so was what am I trying to think of?
Rugby.
Rugby.
Rugby,
Yes,
yeah. Yeah,
Rugby.
rugby's a cool place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Rugby. You talk about demons, Stepford wives, whatever, cult. It's creepy. The walls talk. The forest talks.
Yeah.
People
So
appear
where?
out
I'm
of
not- I
nowhere.
don't know if I'm familiar with that one. Where's that one at?
Well,
We love rugby. It's a cool place.
beautiful.
But it's got an air to it. It was founded as a utopian society.
Really?
It was supposed to be a fresh start for like the second sons of aristocrats from England.
Oh, wow.
And so anyway, they founded this community and didn't know what they were doing, then couldn't grow their crops and things like that. And so, it kind of failed, but a lot of the original buildings are there. It's beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful place. They do tours and stuff. Like it's a really cool place. They got a restaurant, got a bed and breakfast. It's an awesome place to visit.
It's just maybe about 30, 40 minutes from
From
here.
us.
it's not very far
It's
at all.
not far
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. We got some awesome evidence from there too.
Yeah.
It's a cool place to investigate. Yeah, and the trails are the original trails that the settlers carved,
Oh, that's cool.
walking trails and things like that that they
Yeah.
got. Yeah, it's a cool place. It really is, but it's definitely got the creep factor for sure. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's cool.
Have you guys done Old South Pittsburgh?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
I seen her doppelganger at South Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Like full
Oh,
on.
really?
I walked into the room and was like talking to her. I was like, "Where'd she go?" And she was in the bed, and I was like, "Oh, that's
asleep.
creepy." Yeah,
Yeah.
we got.
Oh, wow.
We got. Me and my sister were up in the surgical wing, and we're standing there, and you feel these fingers, like these icy fingers, like run
Wow.
up your cheek, and on my EVP, you hear this man, and he's got a really thick, like deep South accent. I think that's on her page too, but he's like, "Their souls," and I was like, "I hope you're talking about your soul and not mine." That's creepy. So yeah, we got some good stuff
Yeah.
from there. Yeah, South Pitt's great too.
Well,
yeah.
we're hoping to do another road trip and do old South Pittsburgh and Hellsbar again, since Christina didn't get to go, and it was really rainy the night we were there, so
Yeah, it was.
that hindered our investigation quite a bit.
What did y'all think of Hell's Bar? You've been there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell's Bar's cool.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah, it definitely had
I
it.
mean,
I don't know if it was, I feel like partly there was definitely some like negative, whatever you want to call it, going on for
Yeah.
sure. But them tunnels are creepy. It's just
Yes,
dark.
they
and
are.
and,
yeah.
the tunnels are creepy. But yeah, we got some good stuff
Yeah,
out of
we
there.
did.
Some good EVPs and equipment. Y'all got the vortexes in
Yeah,
yeah.
in the pool. The
Yeah.
whirlpools. Yeah.
While playing
Whirlpools.
Indian Cherokee music, they formed, and it was like they were dancing. And when you'd kill the music, they'd stop. But
Oh,
then when
that's cool.
started the music back, they would form again, and so we found that real interesting. So, but yeah, it's I don't know, it's a
It's
different,
different.
one.
It's unique. It's
Yeah.
a different place. You know,
Yeah, it was raining.
that we're not used to. You know, something kind of a different type of activity and stuff. Like I
Right.
like houses. I like that personal element that's kind of added to it, the heritage, and the roots run deep, and
Yep.
home hauntings, and so that's kind of one of my favorites to do. I like to do that kind of stuff.
Yep. We enjoy residential work too. We do it every chance that we get. And
It's my first
this
love.
last year,
Yeah.
we actually had several calls for residential work, and of course, we don't really talk about those or put any of that stuff up because of the
Right.
confidentiality with the homeowners. And those people are in a desperate point when they call for your help. But I agree. I do enjoy doing residential work because it's an opportunity to really help people get answers. Right. I mean, that's the thing that's. I think
Well, now you went to a house though that we want to go to,
Which one?
the Hinsdale.
Oh boy,
Yeah, that's on our list. We want to go check that out.
man! I'll tell
And
you.
Al's not here right now.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I want to
is-
go.
Hinsdale is I don't know. That's the closest I've come to the demon experience. I don't think it's demonic, even though it's a demonic case. I still don't. I truly think it's a rare elemental haunting. I truly believe that. Rhonda and I both really strongly feel that. Yeah, there's Al. He's back. But yeah, Hinsdale House, I would definitely say go. Just be prepared when you go. It's a different. I've never experienced anything like Hinsdale House, and to this day, I'm still not 100% sure what happened at Hinsdale House, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right, Al?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna
Damn it, Al.
take him kicking and screaming, but he's gonna go back.
I wasn't there, but I watched it, and it was really strange to see Al change. And he doesn't have recollection of what his personality was like. Hush, Lucy.
Yeah.
During that time, but he did change,
Yeah,
and
we all did.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, so I didn't get to see it all. But he was doing a live, and he would turn the camera even on himself, and it was just so different. It wasn't Al like normal. And
Right.
he was disengaged from the
Well-
group, which is completely out of character for him. So
Yeah,
I mean, I
let me
want
tell
to
you.
go, but I don't at the same time.
Let me tell you one unique experience. Speaking of Al, since we're picking on Al, which I love when we pick on Al, it's one of my favorite pastimes. In case y'all want to. But we were doing a séance at the Hinsdale House, which I guess is kind of crazy in its own right? But we were doing a séance because we often do that at locations too. That's one of the things that we do to try and connect. And that's one of those things that you got to know what you're doing to do them. And Rhonda is very good at opening and leading a séance. So normally, Al, everybody is really engaged in that. During that séance, all of a sudden we look and Al's like kicked back on the couch, breaks the circle. He's like on Facebook and scrolling through his phone. It's like, dude, really? Yeah. I mean, it was crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And Kevin did the same thing. All of a sudden, Kevin just gets up and walks away from the séance and just goes in the other
He was
room.
real
And it's like-
disengaged too, which
and
was
he
great.
never does that. Kevin
And
never
I
does
have been
that.
looking forward to that trip for so long. I had researched it. I read the book. I was like, it was my number one place I wanted to go. And we went, and it just was like, I was just like, okay, we're here. Now what? It was weird. It was a weird experience. And
For
me
sure.
and Matt's known each other for 25 years. We've worked together for 25 years. And, you guys know, we have the fire department banter going back and forth, but we were actually really, really snippy with each other. And we don't ever do that,
And we don't remember it though. That's the thing. I don't remember being really hostile, but when I watch the video clips, that's one of the reasons we haven't put that all together yet. Because I know this sounds so corny to say, but I almost hate watching those clips because it's so not me and it's so not them. It's so out of character. That's a phenomenon I had heard of. And like I said, 15 years of paranormal, I had never experienced that myself. I had never experienced deep influence or being influenced to behave differently. But I can honestly say, after going to Hinsdale, yes, 100% experienced personality shift and heavily influenced by whatever negativity was there. And we all were. And losing time is a real thing there. And if you listen to teams that have been there, in fact, we're going to have Billy on in the future. Tell her who that is. Tell them who that is. Al.
Billy Lindemuth runs the tours there. She's the one that meets you at the house and gets you set up and ready to go. And I reached out to her today, and she said she'd love to come on. So that'll be a cool show talking about Hinsdale.
Yeah, I'd like to see that one. I'm definitely on my bucket list. I think those places like that mess with your psyche.
Yeah.
That probably sounds awful, but they draw me in. Like they're just fascinating to me because I think it takes it above, and it's another level above just
Absolutely.
Ghost hunting or whatever. I mean, that
Absolutely.
gets into like your consciousness and things like that. And I'm fascinated by places like that. Like, how is it? Like you said, that was the one place you wanted to go. You did all this research. You were amped for it. And then you get there and you check out.
Yeah. I totally checked out. I mean, at one point, I think around midnight, I was like, well, you guys ready to go?
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about?
A subconscious survival thing.
So, and I'll tell you this too. This is another thing about Hinsdale. I've never been anywhere where outside is more ominous and oppressive than the inside. I mean, it is so, normally you can go, like, if you're in an environment, you guys know this, and you need to get a break, you go out of the area and you kind of regroup. And a lot of times outside is a great place to do that because you can ground yourself if you're like me and you like to ground and you like to reconnect with the energy of the earth and you just get yourself grounded. Not there. When you go outside there, it is so epically terrifying. I mean, it is terrifying to be outside that you just want to be back inside. So I don't know if that is it pulling you back in or what, but I know this sounds crazy every time I tell these stories from there, but it is 100% how that place is. I mean, Al, would you not agree that is like the scariest place outside that you've ever been? I'm a grown man.
When you're outside, you want to go back inside, One of the things that happened was, what they'll do is they'll build a fire for you outside just because it is so dark there. I mean, there's like no houses around, and there's
6 miles, I think, is the nearest neighbor or something. Is it 4 or 6 miles? I think
it's a ways. I mean, ways down the road, but she'll build a fire for you, and there's some chairs around the campfire, to sit at or whatever. It was raining that night we were there, so we didn't really go out there. But like the next morning, she texted us to see how our investigation went, and I said, "Oh, it was good." And she goes, "Well, did you guys like sit out by the campfire?" And we was like, "No, it was raining." She said, "Well, all the chairs were like thrown everywhere around the campfire." So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy place. I mean, I would definitely say, go, but just really whatever you do to protect yourself, whatever your ritual is, do that and just really pay attention to yourself and each other and look for those personality shifts because it's a real phenomena there. I mean, it influenced everybody that was there, which was Al and myself and Kevin and Rhonda and Nikita. So the 5 of us all had these crazy swings in personality. So we are putting together the footage from it. We're going to get it out there, and it is what it is. I mean, like I said, it's painful to watch because one of the things I don't believe in doing is provocation. I'm not I know that some people like that technique, and that's to each their own. I'm just not a big one for provocation. I don't think it's and I'm talking serious provocation. I'm not talking poking the bear. We all poke the bear. I'm talking full on next level, the level past Zach Bagans. Whatever comes after that is what I actually was engaging in, and that is just totally not my style on investigations. It's not.
That's interesting.
Mine either, and I think that might have happened to me up at your place.
I think so.
Well, poking the bear sometimes. I mean, you got to stand your ground, right? And I mean, and when we were getting into the history of there's sometimes you have to cross that edge a little bit. I mean, there's a place for it, but I never go into a place with the intent to jab. You know, I try to always be very respectful of spirits, just as I am a human being. I guess I equate it this way. I wouldn't walk into Walmart and like walk up and just like bitch slap the first person that I see.
Right.
I wouldn't do that. So I'm not going to do it when I'm making contact with the other side.
Right.
I mean, I didn't, that was probably not the right analogy, but it's all I had. So
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think whatever feedback you're getting is, you know, how you're going to respond to it.
yes.
So, you know, I don't really think it's provoking if you're getting something nasty for you to get nasty back, you know.
Yeah, but I was like full on, you know, I'm not afraid of you. Prove to me that that you can hurt me. Show yourself, you know. I want to see you come out here and show yourself and try to hurt me. I mean, crazy stuff that I just would not normally do. And it's just,
Right.
I mean, it just was weird. I would definitely say go. Just be careful if you go there. And I would say this, if for those people just watching this or that might watch this, if you're not experienced and you don't know what you're doing, that is not the place to go and get your kicks. That is not a place to go just for fun. I want to go and see if I can get some EVPs. That's a serious place.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Bell Witch, that's the
Yeah.
same with that. I mean,
Yeah.
because even inside, like if you're inside the cave, like you were saying, there's no place there that you feel secure. You know, I mean, it's
Like you can get away from it.
everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. So, and you know, and one of the girls that went with us, they claimed not to take a rock from outside or to take it outside of the cave, but she did the first time. Didn't her kid
Break his arm.
Yeah, while she was there, she took the rock out. So then we go back, she goes again, and lo and behold, she has to take a rock out, and she does it again. Except this time she doesn't take it with her. She just lays it down outside. But when we left, we didn't go maybe 2 miles down the road, and we get pulled over. And so the state trooper lets us go, and he says, "You gotta go on." Tells us how to get out of town. He said, "Don't follow this one back here," and he writes her a ticket. Yeah, let's go. So, but they
Thankful
claim-
for firefighter tags is all I'm saying.
Well, I'm thankful we didn't take a rock.
Well, that's true too.
I think that's part of the thing too. Like, you know, why tempt fate?
Right.
I
There you
mean,
go.
when I was a kid, yeah, I did Bloody Mary in the window or the mirror, you know, said Candyman after I watched the movie. But as an adult with some sense, you know, if you tell me that I walk around a gazebo 3 times and say some chant that I could die, I'm not going to go do it. Leave it alone. Put the rock down. Like, don't tempt it. Like you say, you know, don't provoke with the intent on just trying to get the, you know, biggest bang for your buck, because it's going to bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
You may get a hold of something that you're not ready for. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
But-
speaking of the Nickerson Sneed, you guys came up there. I know Courtney and Jamie, you guys came up there with us and checked out the Nickerson Sneed. What'd you guys think of the Nickerson Sneed, by the way?
Oh, I
I
loved it.
loved it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
great experience.
Yeah.
I actually got to go the weekend before
Yeah.
you all come.
Yeah.
With
Awesome. Okay.
cousin has
Yeah.
a team, and they invited me, and I went with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had some cool stuff. It was a cool place. I seen a cat in the dining in the seance room.
You are about one of the rare people that have seen that. That's not a very public. I think Rhonda doesn't usually talk much about that, the cat being seen there, but she actually did mention it one of the times that we were doing these lives. But you're one of the few that have seen that. There's not a lot of people that have experienced the cat spirit there. So that's pretty cool.
It was we got some creepy stuff. The Howdy Doody doll in the doll room kind of gave me the creeps.
That
but-
doll room is creepy.
Well,
It's
is that where the little piano
Yes.
is? And that was probably the coolest thing while we were there, is hearing the piano play, and then on my SLS camera, and then you all have one. You know, both cameras was picking up a little person there around, like banging on the
Keys, yep.
keys. You know,
And from different angles of the room
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
which I thought was really validating, because you had 2 SLS cameras from 2 different angles mapping the same thing at the same
Right.
time. That was pretty cool. That was
Yeah.
also when Al had his thing land on his head, and that
Yeah.
was on the SLS cameras too.
that was what?
Al had something on his head on the SLS.
Oh
camera.
yes.
I mean, I would just say if he was at Brushy, I would definitely think there was some kind of initiation going on there. But it was at the Nickerson Sneed. So
Yeah.
There was a couple of things on the ceiling there that before we went into the red room that was picking up on the SLS camera.
Yeah.
That room's
Well,
always active.
Well, you guys have a standing invitation to come up there with us anytime you all want to.
I would
This
love
is
it.
our home haunt, so
Yeah,
I'm sure-
definitely like to go back for sure. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
cool place. It was very active, really. I mean, it's just different types of activity from one room to the next. I like that. Yeah.
and different from what you guys probably experience at at Brushy's. So
It is.
Yeah.
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 well,
Yeah.
We do cats.
Yeah, we do have.
Yeah.
Do you? Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's cool.
Ghost cats, yeah. Even the inmates that
Yeah.
come back have asked if we've caught them.
Deer hooves running down the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was going to get you to talk a little bit about that. That's something cool you guys do is have former inmates come back and give tours.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather hear their stories. They lived it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to get to go on one of those, and it was pretty cool to hear his story, and
Yeah. Yeah, they we've got two good ones. They do really good. George and Wayne are.
yeah.
Is George the one that
Yes.
I love his story. I can't tell it without laughing, but he blew up a country club. I don't know why I find that funny, but and I'm like, George, why'd you do that? Well, I needed money. Well, yeah, all right. So, but
At least he was honest, right?
yeah, he was the security guard. His dad was the sheriff. But then he blows it up and ends up here. But yeah, they're characters, both of them, though.
I think it's funny stories like that because
Yeah.
you're like, everybody's like, I ought to blow that place up, but who does it? Like
Yeah.
that's
He's like, I had 18 sticks of dynamite. I thought, what the hell? I needed some money.
Yeah. It's cool stories. They have some fascinating stories, and you're like, tell me more because I want to hear it. Yeah. So
Yeah. So I don't know, but they're good guys. We enjoy having them. And
Yeah.
people enjoy hearing
Yeah.
them. A lot of
Sure.
times they'll come in, they're like, oh, we don't want an inmate taking us around. I'm thinking, yeah, you really do. And then when
Yeah.
they get back there, they're like, oh my gosh, these guys are great, and then they're sending people back to go on tours with them, so
and I think it's cool that they brought them in to do that.
yeah.
The owners. I think it's cool that they're giving them that chance to do
Absolutely.
that. So
Yep. Get that opportunity to do that, and like you said, how much more authentic of an experience can you have than the people that lived that
Right.
actually sharing those stories with you? That's really cool. And it's cool, Al, that you got to experience that. Al
Yeah.
and Michelle, you guys last time we were there, you guys had a really cool interaction with a former inmate
Yeah.
that's now on the other side. Did you want to talk a little bit about that experience?
I'll let
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
let-
let you talk. It was in the D block, wasn't it?
the D
D
block.
block, yeah.
And that was after Jamie had told us that I think some people had been touched in that section,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of led us from the second floor on like the right hand side to the bottom section on the right hand or the
On the opposite
the
side.
opposite side, and we feel like we communicated with
Two different.
two different people there. And one was, could have been the last guy that left the prison there on the bus. And I can't remember his name. Do you remember?
Mhm.
I don't either. But we had our box like you guys got. We had it going off and
Dowsing
dowsing
rods.
rods and some
Yeah.
some cool interactions there.
Yeah, you got,
good stuff out of there for sure.
Yeah.
That whole night it was active
Mhm.
in there. Yeah, we got some good stuff when we went in there.
For a long time, that was the only place
we
we'd
went.
go.
Yeah, we'd stay in there.
Yeah. D-block.
Night after night. We got some amazing EVPs out of there. But yeah, so I'm sure you did because it's pretty active for
Yeah.
sure.
We had a girl she recited the Lord's Prayer in there one night, and she ended up with 3 big claw marks down the length of her back. She never left our sight. She was just sitting there in the cell with us. But yeah, you get touched. We've gotten crazy EVPs. That's where we get that crazy pig
Wink
oink.
it. Yeah,
I
that like
mean,
yeah.
we actually heard that. Rhonda and I actually heard that like a growling kind of a sound.
Well, we get a growl in there.
Yeah, we get a
also.
growl.
We heard a growl. Rhonda and I had a growl in there.
It's this is how we explain it. We circle back around to demons, but it sounds like a demonic pig oink is what it sounds like.
It really does.
It will send cold chills from your heads to your toes because it is creepy.
Oh wow.
We don't get that as much as we did when we first initially started going, but we got that a lot.
Yeah, we need to dig that out because we've got recordings of it, but it's it was.
Now we have a cool video. It was during the summertime. Of course, it's been years ago, so forgive me. I don't remember the exact temperature, but it was hot.
Yeah, really.
And we had the EDI box sitting there, and you watch the temperature drop, and you can see our breath on the video.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Where the temperature changed.
The temperature was in the 80s.
Yeah, it was really hot.
It was, yeah.
And which inside the D block, it's like 90 if it's 80 outside. It's so hot in there.
Yeah.
And but yeah, the temp drops so fast you see our breath on the screen. And
That's really cool.
register on the EDI box. Like when there is a particular spirit in there that we've not ever been able to nail down. Don't know if it's the one doing the demonic pig oinking or what, but when it blows through, and when I say blow through, like it literally comes in like a freight train. And
you will smell it. It'll come with an odor.
Oh wow.
Do that creepy sound, and then the temp does that, and like I said, it's 90 degrees and you can see your breath. It's just crazy. I think it was like July or August when we did that video, like right in the middle of the day. Like
that's why I say everyone's like, oh, you're messing with demons up there. No, you're not really, because like when we get that, even the air becomes thick, like to even breathe. The whole atmosphere changes. And
see, my mind goes to Native American stuff when you talk about some of those.
Could be,
that's where I gravitate with that type of activity.
If it is, there's some pissed off Native Americans. I just say, and I need to figure out what we're doing that's pissing them off.
It really is. When that happens, it's I don't know. We don't run out of there, but
no, we've never ran from it.
When that happens, you think about it. You're like, maybe we should just wrap it up. But.
That changed our minds and led us in a different. Is that what's her phrase? Who am I trying to think of? Saying the Lord's Prayer. Jesse, yes. When she said that prayer, and she was just sitting there, and then she starts complaining of her back burning. And when we turn her around, there's the 3 claw marks. That's the only thing. I guess things can do a mockery, I guess.
And you know how tight those cells are there in D block.
Yeah.
There were 4 of us on a bunk, and so she didn't reach up and and of course we were going and stuff too. But
you'd have known, for sure.
Yeah. So, it's, I don't know. There's something there, in a few places that definitely make you sit back and scratch your head and think, what was that? I think there was one Easter weekend. We didn't leave out of there, like run out at night, but once everybody went home, we walked out to the parking lot and we just sat there. Well, we drove down to the gate to let the last people out. When we come back up, we had all of our equipment and needed to clean up, and we just sit there staring like,
yes.
I don't know that we'll go back in.
We had our husbands come up and get our equipment that morning. We were just zonked. It literally took our toll on us.
It was a rough night.
But I don't know. I do believe there's a portal there, though.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, we felt that too. The couple times we've been there, we've actually talked about that with you guys. That we had that same feeling.
Yeah. And
it makes sense. It's got all the environmental factors just in the right environment.
Yes, that's why I want y'all. We need to come back and do this all again, and take what we got the last time and apply it. See if we get the same stuff again.
Absolutely.
See if we get our radios to work better next time.
Yeah. That was so weird.
Yeah.
That was so weird.
I think we had a good idea that just they didn't like.
we could not get, like, when Rhonda and I were up in the D block with the radios, we were trying to transmit and it just never would work. We could hear you guys, we just couldn't talk back. So when you guys ready, it was like, well, yeah, but we just could never. And then we switched radios and it did it again. But when we went to the other parts of the prison, the radio worked fine. So I almost feel like something was keeping us from communicating at that
Yeah,
moment.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think it locked our plan, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know.
And we did map something in the SLS camera right before we left. We were back behind the cafeteria up in that area where the freezers are, all the way in the back. And we had never been back to that part. So we decided to go back there and we heard some movement. It sounded like footsteps. So Kevin had the SLS camera and he turned and looked and we mapped, or Jared was holding the camera.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? I said Kevin, I meant Jared. Jared was holding the camera and he turned and we saw it. It started crawling down the floor. We didn't see it with our eyes, but it looked like something just crawling.
Right.
So is that where the creeper, I know you guys have a creeper there. Is that the area the creeper is seen?
Yeah, it would be below.
Below it. Yeah. It was actually, we caught it above, but again,
It's all right
it all
there.
goes right there traveling. But I'll tell you what did happen back where you guys were at is that's where they would cut their legs off. Yeah, and then remember we told you we had just found where an old woman had came in one weekend and she kept telling me that her dad or grandpa or somebody had worked there.
Her grandpa.
And she was telling me that they kept the dead downstairs in the basement. And I was like, we don't have a basement.
There's no basement.
She kept telling me,
Wow, yeah.
it's back here, it's back. And I'm like, I know every inch of this prison there's no basement. But then we uncovered, it was like a pipe chase, and where you were at, you technically had to go down steps to get to it. It wasn't underground, but you had to go down steps to get to it. And it would have been right outside the death house. So that's probably where they brought the dead. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know it definitely felt weird back there. It felt different. 'Cause, we had been in the kitchen area and the cafeteria area, and you know how it is. I mean, energy moves anyway, but it was like we walked through and it was like a wall. It wasn't as drastic as that first time we went in the auditorium that time, but it was still that kind of shift when you walk back there. It was like, ooh, this feels very different. And it was a short little experience, but it was cool. It was a place we hadn't been before. So
we don't normally let people go back there. So that was open, and we let you. We're talking about opening that up this year for our paranormal hunts, but I don't know.
Well, another place we got to go was back farther in the infirmary, and that was like a labyrinth back in there. I mean,
Years two, we kept that closed off because we felt like they would run when they didn't want to interact, like they would go hide, and we felt like that was, a place that they would go to because that would be, we wouldn't get activity anywhere else and we'd find it there. And so we just kind of kept that as a little refuge.
So sort of like a a spirit safe space.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But there's some cool activity back there for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we got some meter hits in the auditorium.
yeah, right before we did the experiment, we were getting some meter hits, and I think I even told you, Jamie, that we're getting meter hits, but I'm not sure if it's something else. And you said, no, it's probably legit.
Yeah, because you had it. We asked you if it was in the corner there by the door where we get that creepy crawly thing. There, we're not sure if he's just interacting that much or if it's more residual. But you can set any piece of equipment in that corner, and you're going to get activity.
But here's the odd thing about it. During the day, if you go in there and sit on the stage and you look in those windows and you can see the sunlight coming through the door, you can watch shadows walking. A lot of times they'll go from one side of the room to the other, back and forth. And that only goes to the ceiling or to the roof. So there's no one there, walking anywhere. But I don't know. It's a weird. See, that was part of the hospital at one time, though. That was all hospital ward.
Yeah. It would have been like one big open ward with like cots. But yeah, the auditorium's got a mind of its own. It's a whole different beast,
Yeah.
all on its own for sure.
You know, the first time the gypsies came up there, that time you brought them, you know, if you remember, they picked up on people just sitting crouched down rocking, you know. And
Yes, back in the
yeah. So, and we've been told, you know, that there was a lot of mental illness, and so we had the syphilis. You know, we found record where 90% of the black men had syphilis, and they weren't being treated for it, and they were being made to mind the cold sick.
Yeah,
You
there
know,
was
so
TB outbreak, typhoid, dysentery. I mean, pneumonia was a prevalent
yeah,
where they were made to work sick in the mines and stuff. It was there was definitely a lot of illness, and we did a lot of activity that, you know, coughing, more distressed breathing than say heavy breathing, you know, just breaths. But yeah, we get a lot of stuff like that. Like I said, we did a sick call mock up one night, and we got a full on shadow figure
Yeah.
appear out of that. That was a pretty
That's
good
cool.
experiment. Yeah. So
yeah,
so,
and that would make sense if they had that much illness, why they had such a large infirmary area. I mean, you know, most prisons don't have huge infirmaries, so
Yeah.
the fact that they had such a large one might really correlate with the amount of illness that they were dealing with at one time.
right,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So here's a quick lighthearted question, just to change things up. So we like to ask this one. This is a one we've been asking. It's kind of fun. So if you could pick your ghost outfit, so like when you check out and it's time to come back and be a ghost, what is your ghost outfit and why? And I'll go ahead and tell you what mine is. I'm coming back in a robe and a skull mask with a sickle. I'm the Grim Reaper. I'm going to show up everywhere and just mess with people and convince them that I'm the Grim Reaper. So that's mine. So what is your ghost outfit and why?
Gosh, I think I would wear my Harley Davidson trunk T-shirt just because it's really super soft and worn out feeling. My Minnie Mouse house shoes. They look like high heels, but they're just Minnie Mouse shoes, but they're super comfortable. And probably a pair of my husband's boxer briefs. I'm all out. I'm going for the comfort.
Oh no, we
Hey, it's for eternity, right? So go for comfort. I like it.
our heads. Your
Yes.
black sheep head,
Oh,
my
yes.
rabbit head,
And my
and
unicorn.
unicorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some big heads we could
Yeah,
put on too.
that would be so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
I don't know. We should be wearing
I would
them
definitely
now. I know.
need chains, like your traditional like ghost, like lady in white with chains banging and screaming, and you know,
Like Ghost of Christmas Past kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
something just totally traditional and creepy.
What are you wearing? I have no idea. Courtney's going for the nude.
That's Al's. That's what
That's
Al said he's going with.
I said if I'm going back to scare people, I'm really going to scare them. So
I would definitely scare some people, let me say.
Ooh, no, I want wings. I want wings.
Wings?
Yeah, I want wings. Yeah,
Christina, what's yours?
break some people out.
I said before, as long as there's no underwire, I'm good. Comfort.
See, you never know what you're going to get when you ask that question. That's why I love to ask that question. So that's a fun one. So here's another one. What would be your favorite paranormal horror film or horror film?
Paranormal. I don't know. Maybe White Noise. I liked it for paranormal. Horror movie. I like the new It movie because it's funny.
I haven't
just-
seen the second half yet. I've seen the first
No.
half. Christina
That
doesn't do clowns.
No, no clowns.
As far as scary and weird, I kind of like. Do you remember? Did you ever see Stigmata? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a long time ago. Yes.
A long time ago. That's an oldie. Yeah. Now, as far as when I was a kid, now Halloween, or is that Halloween where they went camping? Is that the one?
No, camping is
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah, now that one scared the hell out of me. I never liked sleeping in bunk beds because they stuck that knife up through the
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
I like cheesy, like B grade horror movies, but like Dr. Giggles, Witchboard,
yes.
like those are some of my
Witchboard.
favorite
Okay. Yeah.
Hey,
classic
we,
movies, you know?
I don't
Like
think I've seen that.
we've got a nice B
horror
movie
movies.
they can check out.
Huh?
Yes, we
We
do.
got the B movie for you.
Oh, do you? I'm all, yeah, I want to see it. Yeah. But I like anything that has some kind of
Rhonda's
like
going to kill you, Al.
I know.
reality like that. Have you seen that Six Souls with Julian
No.
Moore?
Yes.
No, I've not seen that.
Or like that last or Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh, that was freaky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stuff like that. Just I love it. Anything that has some kind of like trace to like could happen is you know. But
Those
I'm
are
a
the ones
huge
that
horror
scare
movie
me.
fan, so I don't have a favorite. I love them all.
I think the scariest one of all time, though, is just because it would be scary as hell if it really happened, and that is when a stranger calls. Remember when the
Yeah.
phone?
They've remade that a couple times, but yes, I do. That's just
The one where
yes.
he's in the closet.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's making the phone calls
Yeah.
from inside the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's me. I like those. I like those really scary, suspenseful ones. You know, the ones like that where the calls coming from in the house, where it's build up. I don't need all the like gore. I'm good with just the build up and the suspense.
Yes, that's what I like.
Yeah. Whatever keeps you on the edge of your seat going, oh my God, let's
Yeah.
get ready.
Yes.
Really didn't see that one.
Yeah. And then
It's like,
after
I gotta watch. No.
like that
Yeah.
movie Lights Out, it's a fairly new movie. And this probably sounds crazy, but I'm a little bit iffy in the dark, especially if I'm by myself. And so to have a movie about being something in the dark, like when you get done and you're like, I'm turning on every light in the house just so I'm comfortable walking through the house, you know. So movies that can make me do that, make me want to turn the lights on, I love it. Yeah.
Yep.
For
Where you
sure.
don't want to go to sleep. You want to keep a light on, you know, because you're afraid to go to sleep.
Yeah, you
Okay,
close your
yeah.
eyes and you feel
Yeah.
something staring at you and you peek. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's me. I like the suspense. I like those ones that build that up and leave you hanging with something more than I do the ones that are just too far. I mean, to me, there's a line there where you go too far, and I like my imagination is scarier than anything they could show me. So I don't need help. You know, I mean, it's kind of what's going on up here is pretty wild anyway. So
Yeah.
kind of thing. So here's another good question we'll ask you guys while we're on the topic of things. If there was one thing you could change in the paranormal industry, what would that be?
Ego.
Amen.
Ego.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what we feel too. I mean, it's just people, if they would put aside the egos and we would share and collaborate, we could really make it more mainstream and get to a standardized way of doing things instead of, you know, my way's the only way and your way sucks and all that
Right.
stuff that goes with that.
Yeah, because none of us know.
Nope.
We all have cool evidence, but it proves nothing. Everybody's got a theory, but I'm like you.
I wish more people would just let things happen. I mean, I know a lot of things get faked also, and I think
Unfortunately.
I know what happens, and I know that if you'll let it happen, it's going to happen. You don't have to fake this stuff, you know.
or don't tear down everybody's stuff as being fake.
Right.
Not everybody's faking
Thank
stuff.
you.
You know,
Yep.
No,
you know what?
Thank
If you don't believe what I've got, I don't care.
right.
I
Right.
expect
To the
it not
next.
to, you know,
Right.
you believe or not. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. Attitude. I guess maybe attitude. I think attitude is what really kind of brings the community
Yeah.
down.
Absolutely.
Paranormal TV shows need to go away.
Yeah. You guys have had a couple of shows come to Brushy, haven't you?
They have.
Yeah.
They have, and
Yeah.
and I have to say, you know, they've done good. I can't, you know, I mean,
I like small teams that produce their own content. I think people should
Yeah.
produce their own content. I think when you add in production companies and TV, you know, big TV conglomerates, whatever you want to call them, these big channels, they just kind of water it down. They give people false expectations, not only about what paranormal investigating is, but about the places themselves and the history. And you can't get all that in a hour-long TV show. And so I think it just kind of.
That's why I like Ghost Nation, the new Ghost Nation. They spend a whole week at a location. You know as well as you need a whole week at a location. But I don't know. I mean, too, it's ghost hunting's boring. I mean, a lot of times it's boring.
Yeah.
You know, you're
like
not
fishing.
gonna. It's not like the TV shows. You're not gonna walk
No.
in there and things. You know, I mean, sometimes you may walk in there and it be like that, but for the most part, it's a waiting game. You know,
Yep.
it's called ghost hunting for a reason.
Yeah.
You gotta hunt that down. You know, and
And it's hours and hours and hours of sitting in the dark, not knowing if you got anything, then hours and hours and hours of reviewing evidence and tape and video and going, okay, maybe we got something. And then it's more hours of cross-referencing that with the things that you need to make sure that you actually have something valid. So yeah, to your point, I totally agree. I don't know. I kind of look at the TV shows, I guess, a little different. I think there's some really good value in some of it in the sense that it does expose people to this. And I kind of look at the shows this way. They could definitely elevate, like you're saying, Ghost Nation. I think there are some shows out there that do as good a job as can be done in a television environment. And I'll equate it this way. You guys, a lot of you have a connection to the fire service. Chicago Fire is not what our job is at all. But it's a good TV show.
I wish it was like, yeah.
Right. But it's a good TV show. I mean, it's a good TV show. It's a good drama. The characters are good. But it's not a true reflection of what, I've done for 25
Well,
years
it's
of my life.
entertainment.
It's
Right.
entertainment. And I think that's what you got to look at the shows with. You got to take the grains of good in them and then realize some of it is because not everybody watching it is like us. Not everybody watching those shows are paranormal investigators or paranormal professionals or enthusiasts. A lot of them are people that have never been paranormal investigating, probably will never go paranormal investigating. So they that's their best chance of seeing those things. And they're selling ads for the people that pay for the commercials. So there
Right.
has to be, like Jamie said, it's boring. If you just had a camera crew following us sitting around for 5 hours and nothing happened, and then we played some EVPs for them, I think people would not watch that. So
Right.
there has to be some entertainment value. But I guess what I hate is when that line gets crossed to a point. You know what I mean? Where they go too far with
Right.
the entertainment value.
That's when I say like that needs to
Yeah.
I think that hurts our field, and then people that get interested in it from watching a TV show, we've had this happen. They come and they're like, okay, show us the action.
Right.
And when they leave, they not only don't believe but they're no longer gonna get into this field. And we need people in this field. We need people with
Yes.
fresh ideas and more people looking into, strange coincidences. The more people we can get to look into it, the further we're going to go. And I think when you over exaggerate and you, like you said, cross that line, you push people who otherwise would have come into our field away and make all of us look bad,
Yeah,
which,
and
entertainment's entertainment. And,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I do like I said, like Ghost Nation and even the new Ghost Hunters. I like to see that kind of content coming out because if they're going to have those shows, I think it's on those people to try to elevate that and try to get away from the negative stuff that you're talking about. And it's like when we do our publics, one of the first things we tell people is, listen, we're getting ready to go and do this, and yeah, there are some real dangers with the paranormal, but the reality is there's a good chance we're going to go out here for the next 4 or 5 hours, and absolutely nothing is going to happen. Okay,
Right.
We're going to sit around in the dark and we're going to talk to the dark for hours. This isn't Dollywood. We can't promise you an experience. Okay, we can't. It's not up to us.
That's what we tell them.
We
You
had a
know?
group come once and they said, we don't want to see anything. We was like, well, we
Why
can't
are
help
you here?
you.
Yeah, like
And
we
that
could
was our
turn it
next
on
question.
off.
Why are
Yeah.
you here? We want to learn about the history. I'm like, you should have took the day tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
anything. And Amy's like, well, we can't make Casper come out. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, like one guy came in and asked if that excuse me, if the room was haunted where we were at, and I said, yeah, we have one here. He said, where's he at? I don't see him. Casper, I mean, I'm sorry that but I don't know. They've just got this image in their head that's.
I think you have parodies. People who put out something funny, which we've been a part of before, doing something funny or whatever, but I don't think you should try to pass something off as serious when you're not being serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just label it is, what it is. If you're not being serious and you're exaggerating and stuff like that, just label it for what it is. And don't call yourself a serious.
Exactly. Call it entertainment. Call it entertainment, and that's fine. I totally agree. Our buddy Josh from Everything Paranormal said he would change those stupid ghost stickers on everything. That's what he would change. If you don't know Josh, he does the Everything Paranormal show. Actually, he'll be coming on here, I think, at 10 o'clock on his channel. He was on with us a couple of weeks ago. And he also said that, good point, but Chicago Fire doesn't try to pass it off as real, which goes to what you ladies were saying.
That's what I'm saying. Be honest about what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
Like if you come up and you make up a whole bunch of crap, put out there that you just made it up. Don't try to pass it off as real.
It blows my mind how many people believe that you can catch a ghost in a box and take it.
Oh my God.
Yes. And I'm thinking, if I can walk through a damn wall, you're not going to capture me in a box.
They watched Ghost. What was it? The Ghostbusters, the movie, and that's where they got that from. We could put them in containment units. That's the craziest thing ever. Or do they think that because we've all had battery drain on investigations, right? So do they think that's why? Well, maybe we can stick them in a battery, right? Since they're full of energy, but maybe we just shove them in a battery and take them with us. I mean, it's the craziest thing, but yes, that's something very strange.
I just wish for you get online and there's amazing content that people have produced. There's amazing self-produced shows, but I think for the general overall public, it's not portrayed for the most part. There are some good shows, but for the most part, it's not portrayed as realistic as it should be.
Right.
And I think people just get, don't get the right idea. And it, creates a barrier when, they do try to come into the field or they come to take a tour or something. Well, we've just seen it firsthand, know, what their expectations are after they've watched a show and then they come for a tour. And then they want to give us a bad review. Well, we didn't see a ghost. Well,
yes.
Sorry.
Yep.
It's in the disclaimer, but
we've not had a whole lot of that.
No,
but we have had that. But once, you get them in there and educate them a little bit and show them,
and they realize they are getting evidence.
But it's kind of, I guess it would be a letdown. I mean, if you're going in and you think, somebody's going to come out and sit down beside you and have a cocktail or, something, I don't know.
I think it is hard for people that just kind of wander into the field versus people like us that have been doing it since we were kids, I mean, I got my first Ouija board when I was 9. And, 10, 11 years old, me and my friends were hunting the cemeteries around here. I mean, we were all hearing ghost stories and going out and checking those out. I mean, we've literally lived doing it in some capacity. I wasn't an expert ghost hunter at 11 years old, but I've always been in that realm of things, in that world. And then you take somebody that's in their 30s that's never had an experience, and the only thing they've seen on is on TV. I think when they come for the first time, it's a shock. They're like, it sucks. And it's like, no, just stay, just hang in there. It doesn't,
Well, yeah, I guess though, I mean, when I hear someone come and say, I've never had an experience, I've never seen anything, that's so foreign to me. I mean, I've seen so much. It shocks me that there's people in the world that's never had an experience. I mean,
and I think they don't realize that they have, though. A lot of times they just don't think of it as being an experience. I guess maybe.
Yeah, could.
Josh,
I don't think I had my first experience until I actually joined the team. So
really,
yeah. I grew up interested in ghost stories and read all kinds of books, but I really can't remember any type of paranormal experience I had until I And it took a couple of investigations because the first one we went to, it was like walking in Walmart, you know.
That goes back to residential work. Sometimes it's not the place that's haunted; it's the person that has the issue, and that was what that case was. There really wasn't anything paranormal happening there. I think is the way to say that, but yeah, I mean, and for Al, I'm the same way. I was in my 30s before I actually had my first experience, and that's what led me to paranormal. I mean, I was a hardcore skeptic. Not that I dismissed everybody else's. I wasn't to that degree, so I wasn't like saying to people you're crazy. It's just like
Right.
I hadn't had it happen to me. I thought, well, that's neat, but you know, I've never been abducted by an alien, but some people
Right.
have. Yeah, so I was never throwing off on it. I just never had experienced it. And then I had my first experience, in which people that follow our channel have heard this a million times, but I don't know if I ever told you three. So I'll real quick tell you my story. I like to metal detect for Civil War stuff is a big part of what I like to hunt for. And I was out doing that, and I had my first encounter at an old abandoned house. It's in the middle of a farm field. I'm out there, I'm metal detecting, I get a signal. I look up in the window, and this place has been abandoned for 30 plus years. And I see a full body apparition of an elderly woman in a light colored gown looking out the window at me. And in this time it took my mind to process what I saw, she vanished right before my eyes. So I did what all grown men do when they see a ghost. I grabbed my metal detector and shovel, and I ran to my truck, and I threw the stuff in there, and I left as quick as I could. And then I started trying to process what I had experienced. So that's what led me on my journey, was that experience, trying to get answers to that, because I was convinced that that was me and not a real phenomenon. And the more I dove into this, and the more I started researching, and the more I started going out and trying to dabble with investigating, it just really went from that to a hardcore passion for me. So I went most of my adult life without having experiences, and now 15 years later, I'm the exact opposite of the skeptic. I mean, I still approach things skeptically and look for the proof or the explanation, but I'm a true believer because I've had experiences that I can't explain. And Josh says, here's a statistic for y'all. He said 25% of the country has experienced ghosts, 50% believe in ghosts. So that's the statistics. So there you go.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, people are all, I'm going to prove to you that they exist. I don't think you can sway somebody one way or the other. If somebody believes, especially if they believe because they've had an experience, you're never going to convince them that they don't exist. But somebody who's never had an experience, like you, who's a hardcore skeptic, until you have your experience, you're not going to be swayed. And I think some people just need hard proof. They need to have their own experience. Of course, that's a whole interesting topic too, as to why some people have experiences and some people don't. Talk about it all day. I love getting into that kind of stuff. I find it interesting, and people's personalities and their experiences and their psyche, and and them more predisposed to experiencing something that half the country believes in ghosts. 25% have seen one. Well, why not the other 75%?
And how many people have experienced it, like we were talking about earlier, because of their upbringing or because of their religious beliefs or because of even any other things in their life, they're afraid to admit they've had this encounter because of how people might look at them. You start telling people that you like to go and do what we do. There's two types of people. There's people that go, oh, wow, that's really cool, even though they won't admit it to their friends, or they go, yeah, you're crazy, you're nuts, that stuff's not real, or you're playing with demons. So I think that the stigmatism that comes with it sometimes for people, and that's, again, going back to the shows, that is the good thing about the shows. I think it has taken some of that stigmatism away from it and made it more
easy to talk
mainstream.
about.
Yes, more normal.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Yeah, I think it really has, kind of brought it more into the forefront, which, like I was talking, especially around here, like I said, you get people in a group here and nobody believes in ghosts. That's awful. But you get them individually and start talking to them, and they'll tell you their experiences that they wouldn't have said had somebody else been sitting there. So I think you're right there. A lot of people don't want to, for whatever reason in their background, they don't want to tell. Or maybe they don't believe it themselves. They know what they've seen. Maybe they just feel like it was a fluke or they were hallucinating or whatever.
Yeah.
They just brush it off.
Yep. And that's kind of what happened to me. And not everybody is like me that when I get a hold of something, I have to get answers. And that's a bad character thing, I guess. But a lot of people brush that off. I mean, it would have been very easy for me to say, man, we had a rough night last night at the fire hall. I'm just exhausted. I'm seeing things. I'll go home and sleep it off. But I couldn't shake it, right? It was such a strong experience that there was no walking away from that. There was no getting past that experience. It stuck with me. I think it was my calling to this field. I think it's the reason that happened. That was spirit saying, hey, time for you to come and talk to us. I mean, I truly believe that.
There's a big discussion about like, just us as a people as a whole coming into a higher level of knowing and expanding, our knowledge and things like that. You get into the whole metaphysical side of it. There's theories out there that we as a society are, progressing to a higher level. So more people are having experiences, and kind of being drawn more to this field. So it's a theory, but
Absolutely. And Josh just made another point. He said, how much sleep paralysis is paranormal, but not acknowledged as such? What's your guys' thoughts on sleep paralysis and paranormal?
I've had sleep paralysis, probably about 8 to 9 times over the course of the last 15 years. I never had it until I was an adult. I actually had it the first time I was pregnant with my oldest son. And I don't know. I mean, I'm a nurse, so I totally get the scientific explanation of sleep paralysis. And my medical background can explain away the process of
what's going on with the body physiologically.
What was going on, physically to induce that. The feeling of not being able to take a breath, and it felt like my throat was like closed, and like I said, I can explain all that away physically, but why do you see what you see when that happens? Like, why do you see the creepy little demon in the corner of the room, and it really truly is terrifying. You can't move, you can't breathe, and you just see these crazy images. Is it some kind of like a latent idea, or some kind of idea that's been put in your head? I would like to know the ratio of people that have sleep paralysis, who see demons and things when that happens, like what I've seen, who have a religious background, who was brought up religious, versus people who have sleep paralysis, do not see a demon or a hag or something like that. They just have the feeling, but they're not seeing those images, and they don't have a religious background. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, see the correlation between believers and non-believers from a faith side, how that impacts the experience, right? That's what you're basically saying.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that topic fascinates me. I would love to know the answer. I've never seen the old hag, but I have seen the demon. We're talking about sleep paralysis.
And I'm certainly no sleep paralysis expert. I've never had that experience. I've read up some on it, and I've studied it because I find it fascinating. When I say study, I've read some stuff on it. Let me quantify that. I haven't wrote a thesis on it or anything, but it does seem like there is a lot more negative things that are encountered or seen during. People don't talk about seeing, unicorns and rainbows. They talk about these really dark experiences. And what I kind of wonder is when we meditate, right, we try to get on a higher plane. We try to reach a higher energy, a higher vibration. Or sometimes there are times that we're seeking answers and we deliberately go lower. We use different things like shamanic drums. There are different things you can do to go to lower vibrations in the deliberate reason to try to connect with different things, not dark things, but different things that are on a lower, a more negative vibration. So I wonder if somehow in your sleep cycle, if your mind, if you don't get in that lower vibration, and that's why you're connecting with some of these things that you normally might not connect with, because energy-wise, you operate on a higher vibration. Christina, thoughts on that? I know you kind of probably got something there. I can see the look.
Gosh, I could go on for an hour on that one. That's its own separate thing. I know personally when I meditate, I've begun using a singing bowl. And the reason I did that was to be able to go higher because I found, and I don't know if it's the environment lately or with everything going on, I was encountering the lower frequency. So much like you were saying, I mean, there's good and bad in everything.
Sure.
And we've got blends. Me personally, I prefer to stay on a higher plane.
Sure.
Finding a tune on the singing bowl has helped me to be able to meditate at a higher level. And that's important to me. I personally have only encountered sleep paralysis once in my life, and it was absolutely terrifying. It was probably the most terrified I've ever been in my entire life, but I'm a control freak. So
What?
oh yeah, who knew, right? So being out of control of something is just horrifying for me. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on that. I'm like I said, I'm using the singing bowl now, and
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, I don't look to go at the negative levels, but there have been times when I have needed answers or specific
right,
information where I have needed to do that. And you encounter things on a different level. So it just makes me wonder what happens during sleep paralysis. I mean, are we naturally tapping into those theta waves? Are we getting on that lower plane? And that's why people are having that experience. It's just, again, another theory. Who knows?
And I've never even had a nightmare, so I'm not even relating to any of this.
Ah, no
No.
nightmares? Really? That's
Never had
awesome.
Ever.
God, I've had, see, like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on up here. So, I mean, you know,
There is
I've had
mine
some
too.
dark dreams.
My brain ought to be outlawed. When I don't know why, but I've never had a nightmare.
Yeah,
I wish I could say that.
Consider yourself lucky.
Like
Yeah.
I'm lucky to have a semi-normal dream. Most of my dreams are all like I wake up going, "Oh my God, I just died," you know, like so. Yeah.
See, and mine could be like I'm a very structured person in a lot of ways. I mean, I like things a certain way, but my dreams are real eclectic. I mean, I can have like people from 25 years ago in my life and people from like when I lived in Florida versus with my people that I know from here and be in it's just weird. I mean, it's like no rhyme or reason to my dreams. Like I said, it's a strange place up here. So
I usually dream about things I did that day or maybe that I'm going to do the next day or something, but never have I ever had a nightmare. I mean, I've had bad dreams, you know, maybe I worked all night or something. But I've never had a nightmare ever.
that would be a nightmare working all night. I mean, when we work 24 hours, so I mean that's a nightmare a lot of times. So that's a never-ending nightmare. It lasts forever.
That's really, I don't know. I've thought about that a lot because, you know, some of the things we've seen, you know, in this field. And I ought to be having nightmares occasionally, you know, but.
So that leads me to
And I'm really good about blocking that too. Like if something happens on a call or we see something real disturbing, I can block that so that I'm not dwelling on it a lot. But maybe that's why. I don't know.
So have you guys ever had any dreams post-investigation that are connected to either before, pre, or post? Have you had dreams about where you're going, or have you had dreams connected to it after? Have you experienced that phenomenon?
See, I do a lot of dreaming of things that happen in the future, you know, like world events and stuff. I'll dream that kind of stuff.
So premonition type stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think dreams are kind of a very untapped resource for investigating the paranormal, you know, anything kind of strange. I think you're just in a state where you can receive information, you know, you're processing things that you can't do when you're awake, you know, like things like lucid dreaming and
Absolutely.
things like that. I mean, you know, it's a fascinating topic and I love it. I wish there was more a team up of paranormal investigators and, you know, people who study sleep for, you know, I can't think of my words, like from a medical background, you know, with all their
Yeah.
fancy equipment and stuff. I wish there was more teamwork there to see what, kind of things we could uncover. Because I like your idea about being on a lower plane when the sleep paralysis happens. I mean, it could explain, all the scary images. Or it could, it could just be where you're frightened to death because you can't
Yes.
breathe, you can't move, and your brain is reaching for an image that frightened you.
But
To match your physical response to what's happening to you. Yeah.
do you go into a deep sleep when you sleep? Do you go into a really deep sleep?
Who, me?
Out, yeah. Or I mean, Matt, yeah.
Yeah, well, it depends. At work, I don't, and I never have. But when I'm home, yes, I will sometimes get into a very deep sleep cycle.
See, she does too. Where I don't really ever go into.
No,
I
she's a
mean,
real light sleeper.
I'm a light sleeper, so that could explain.
I go way under, like.
See, that's me. And you raise a good point too, Tiffany. There with that is that when you sleep like that, you're letting all of your guards down. I mean, you are dropping all those things that you naturally put up, those barriers that separate you from these other realms and these other things. And when you're sleeping, all that is dropped. So that's why I think dropping onto that lower level is a real possible thing. And I know it is, and I've done it through meditation. So I can only assume if you're dropping all those protections and shieldings that you're putting up. And it depends on what you believe in too. I mean, I'm a big subscriber in grounding and shielding, and I think you can do that. And I think that's an important thing that you have to do if you're sensitive or you're really connected to the paranormal. That's something that you need to really master for yourself, whatever protection system you use. But I think when we sleep, we naturally drop that stuff. And that's why, like, for me, sleeping in very haunted places that have bad history is scary for me. Like when we slept at Wildwood for 2 nights, there's some bad history in parts of that. So I was real apprehensive about sleeping there because of being afraid of dropping all those protections subconsciously.
What's been interesting for me is places that tend to be more negative. I can't sleep as deep in. I don't get into that deep sleep. Not really by choice, because I'm a sleeper. Like if you let me sleep, I'll sleep. But it just so happens that way. And people that normally aren't deep sleepers are. But places that tend to be more negative, I never get into like a huge, deep sleep like I do at home.
And that's probably your natural shielding. You're naturally putting up and saying, "Hey, whoa, I don't want to connect on that level." At least that's my theory, anyway.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way. I didn't sleep the first night at all at Wildwood. I mean, they were sawing logs next to me, and I was absolutely just sitting there, like, wide-eyed and like, "This sucks. I can't sleep. It's not gonna happen." But that was actually, we spent 2 nights at Wildwood before we went to Hinsdale, so that was 3 nights in a row of craziness. So,
some heaviness, yeah.
Yeah, that was a heavy road trip. Yeah, then we went to Salem and spent a few days in Salem and did some stuff over there, and yeah, it was fun. We had a good time. We went to Lizzie Borden's. That was cool. We didn't get to investigate per se, but it was awesome. It was cool.
Yeah, Lizzie Borden isn't really on my list to investigate. I just would like to see it.
It's cool.
It's cool.
Just a place to go, check out, maybe do like the day tour or something. But
it is back to, they have it restored to the way it was the day it happened. I mean, even the furniture is down to the exact. I mean, it's like a time capsule. You literally walk back into how it was the day it was done.
And not to spoil it, but when you leave there, you fully believe that Lizzie Borden absolutely killed him, and for good reason.
Yeah, you kind of start pulling for her, as crazy
Yeah,
as that sounds.
I mean, it's kind of cool.
I get it. Yeah, but it
Go
real
to
cool.
The Conjuring House.
The what?
The Conjuring House. I want to go there. I was told they just opened that up for
They
investigation.
did.
Yeah,
They did.
Paranormal Brews going there, I think in May.
May. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'd like to do
Yeah.
that.
yeah, I'd just like to go because I like the movies.
Yeah.
We're talking about getting with them and maybe doing Trans-Allegheny or Rolling Hills or something. And you guys are welcome to join along with us if you want.
Well, we'll go. Now, Trans-Allegheny's huge.
I saw my first doppelganger up there.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I love that place. But But yeah, we'll go.
Well, we gotta get together with you guys again. I mean, we have fun every time we do it. So Al wanted me to play this one clip from the Nickerson Sneed, so I'll throw this up real quick. Get your guys' take on it live here before we get ready to sign off. What'd you say, Al? Did you say something? I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's probably one of my most favorite pieces of evidence that we've ever gotten. I mean,
So you're gonna tell them a little bit, set the stage before I play it?
well, actually, let's let Courtney or Jamie set the stage, or Christina, because
You might want to tell them what clip it is, Al. They don't know what clip it is. Only you and I know.
Yeah,
Oh, they know what clip it is. They know. It's,
Do you guys know? Because I don't feel like you know.
I don't. I mean,
Oh.
I'm sure we're involved, but I have no
Oh,
idea.
you're involved. Yeah, it's the one where we feel like Dr. Sneed says, "I can hear you."
Oh,
Spirit box.
yeah, you all know that all
Yeah,
too well.
right.
So we use the spirit box, and I know that's a controversial piece of equipment, that's a whole nother show and a whole nother discussion. But we have found that it does have validity. It's like anything else. I mean, an EVP using a recorder, if you don't do your due diligence, you can get false positives. This is the same. The only thing is, we take our antennas out of ours and we put them in Faraday bags. So we were using it up there at the Nickerson Sneed, and it was Christina and myself and Al, Kevin, Courtney, and Jamie. And we were in Dr. Sneed's room, the Red Room, which was at one time his doctor's office. And there's a lot of stories that go along with it. And we were having some really good, I thought, interactions until Courtney decided she wanted to piss him off. And, no, just kidding. We were having good interactions, and then it kind of ramped up a little bit, and we kind of had to start pushing back because it was getting kind of negative. So we were giving it back. And that's sometimes what you have to do to set them boundaries. And Kevin asked this question before we got into all that, and this is the short clip. And then here we go.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh
my God.
God.
That's good. That's cool.
So that's one of our favorite captures that we actually had a camera going. Because like you said earlier, I mean, sometimes you get these great experiences, but you don't have anything to prove it other than, hey, it's a cool story. But that was one that we actually were able to actually capture and have the video to go with it. So great little experience. And I think that was a great night. I think we had some really cool interactions for sure up there.
That's cool. That's a great catch.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Before we sign off, you guys have got some other cool stuff at Brushy besides the prison. If you want to talk a little bit about that, and then tell us, about your tours when all this stuff gets opened back up, so people will know how to, what
Are
you
you
got.
talking about our whiskey, our other spirits? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
exactly.
Yeah, they're making moonshine. They just brought out a vodka. They've started on I think they're going to go with a rum, but they're doing a double barrel whiskey right now.
Christina, Michelle.
Later they'll go on with the rum. So yeah, they're making us real happy up here right now. So, but
If you
then,
need rum tasters, I volunteer.
what's
You need rum tasters, I'm your girl.
oh yeah.
You should actually do an event, spirits with spirits. I mean, you sample like a tasting, and then you go get some spirits. I mean, you could do like a double thing there.
Right. Hey, make a good T-shirt too.
It would.
But we do have the restaurant. You can eat. We have the gift shop, and it's just it's a whole
Historical daytime tours. Yep.
yeah.
And then, of course, the paranormal tours at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And we
you guys-
call them tours. You book it. It's your night. You
Right.
investigate how you want to. It's
Yeah.
just called paranormal tour. Like, we
Right.
don't lead you by the hand, and
right.
so
But
yeah,
let them do their own thing. That's cool.
yeah.
You guys have a website too, right? Do you guys want to tell everybody your website? Because there'll be a bunch of people that will watch this other than the ones that watch live. So
Yeah. If you want to book a tour, it's tourbrushy.com.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Tourbrushy.com. You can go on there and it tells about the historical tours. But then that's where you book for a paranormal investigation. You go under the paranormal tab, and that's where you'll go to find that. So
And you guys are on Facebook at End of the Line Paranormal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Yep. So-
We're not as attentive to that as we should be, but
We've slackened.
we're not like social media guru type people, but we'll try to do better.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try to do better. A lot of times our guests though go in there and they'll tag us and put some evidence on there. So
Yeah, that's majority what we've used it for, is to share what other people's captured and announce the flashlight tours. We announced that on our Facebook page when those start, and how you can book those. Those are done in October and stuff like that. And we have some things we've talked about doing. Of course, everything's kind of on hold right now with
yeah.
Yep.
Right.
That's why we started doing these live shows for us, because of COVID. It was like we had a bunch of publics and privates and a bunch of stuff scheduled, and we had to just obviously shut it all down. So we thought this would be a fun way to still do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were supposed to go to Sweet Springs this weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We need to do that. That's up here, you guys.
Okay. When? Tell me when. We're in.
we just need to get
We're
it.
easy. Just tell us when and where. We'll
All
be
you gotta
there.
do is say when and we're there.
That's
You know?
it.
That's us. Just
Yeah.
say when.
Now, we've got to get together with you guys again and go hit something, take a little mini road trip or something. We've got to. I mean, you guys are a great team, and we love working with you. We thank the world of you guys, and we really encourage anybody that does watch this, if you get the opportunity to go to Brushy, meet these ladies and see the facility, whether it's a day tour, a flashlight tour, a paranormal tour, stop by and check it out, because it is a unique place with fantastic energy. And really follow these guys, even though they say they don't post a lot. Still go over there and give them a like and follow them, because they're a great group, and we love them to death. So we're glad you guys came on tonight. Anything you guys want to say before we sign off for the evening?
Thank you.
Yeah,
This
thank
is
you.
fun. Like I said,
Yeah.
this is our first podcast.
Yeah.
Like live.
And it's the first time we've
Whatever
been
you
out
want.
too, and we're what, 2 months?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we paroled you guys in a sense.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
jailbroke us.
Yeah. I had to cut
Awesome.
roots before I could cut down the road.
Well, I'll tell you one of the things.
Thank you for having us. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, we've enjoyed having you guys, and one of the things that we're talking about doing, we're going to probably get with Josh and possibly Paranormal Brew. I'm not sure, but if you guys would be interested, we're talking about doing like a little round table, bringing a couple pieces of evidence from each group, kind of sharing it, getting everybody's thoughts, maybe even finding some stuff out there in internet land, and reviewing those and giving opinions. So, would you guys like to join us for a round table like that in the future?
Yeah, that'd be
Sure,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
All
cool.
right. Sounds good. Well, guys, thank everybody for everybody that tuned in. We appreciate you tuning in tonight. It was a great conversation. I think we covered a lot of great topics. So once again, thanks for supporting us and tuning in and watching everything that we do. I'm going to go ahead and hit this outro. If you guys will hang out for just a minute once we go off the air, we'll say goodbye to you guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in.